Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Goodest cast. And on this episode, we got Toshi from Alpha Project Imports. And if you don't know anything about Toshi, he lives in Japan and he drives Mahon. He drives all the tracks. He's in the Kansai area, and he's a fantastic driver. He also had a big controversy not long ago, and I've always wanted to talk to him about it. And the other day, he hit me up and he's like, "Let's do it." So we did it over Zoom. We had some issues with the video quality, and we had a bad network connection, so there's like a little bit of audio dropout. I posted on Instagram and I said, "Hey, do you guys want us to put this out? We might lose the magic if we re-record it." And like 98% of people said drop it. So this is the episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm sorry for the quality, but I think the content is worth dropping, so appreciate you guys. Just like our friend Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, rolling. And what tires was he rolling on? He was rolling on Accelera 651s or 351s, depending on what he was trying to do, you know? And I don't think I can legally make an ad about Fred Durst, but I'm going to do it because I don't think he'll ever see this. Anyway, tirestreets.com/goodest. Get yourself some good tires. That's all we need in this life. If you like it, put a rubber ring on it or whatever they say. I don't know. Beyonce. Goodest 651 for 20% off. You cheap fucks. Dude, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I don't have an S15 in the background. I'm kind of jealous.
No worries.
Yeah, so I've seen your driving like progress over the last few years. Like the first stuff I saw was like some kind of street stuff. And then recently it's been some serious driving in the S15. And at that last Bihoku day when I was out there, you were like dooring Julian on entry at Bihoku. It was pretty impressive, man. And
Thanks.
I've obviously you have a long history with like going to Japan and driving and stuff. So I just want to like kind of get to know about that, because honestly, I don't know much about you at all. We've crossed paths here and there, but
Yeah. I think I've seen you maybe twice in Japan, and we never really actually struck up like an actual conversation.
yeah, it was just a quick "what's up" and on to the
And then
next.
everything else is just driving and a bunch of crazy crap during the day.
Yeah. So let's get into like your history a little bit. Like, I know that you are from Hawaii. It's like, I don't know. I'm just like piecing
Yeah.
together the stuff that I've like picked up through like social media and friends. And
Yeah.
what's the origin story? How did you find drifting? What was like the inspirations and how did it go?
Well, in the beginning, I always liked cars. My dad owns an auto body shop in Hawaii, so I mean, I always been around cars. But the actual like drifting kind of like came in the picture when my brothers, my older brother's friends were like doing those RC drifting, freaking when that scene was like super alive back then. And I got into the RC drifting part, and then I started watching dudes at the track drift like real cars back in Hawaii when they actually had a track. And I always told myself, well, when I get older, I want to do that stuff. And when I got to the age of where I could actually drive a car, the track closed down probably years before I could drive. There was always a talk in Hawaii about the track being built. And when I started drifting, I could only drift on the street and the hills. So I was doing that, and all the other car people were waiting for like a track to get built, but it's pretty much lost. Even today, there's no track there, so it was just a lost cause. So I'm half Japanese, so my mom was here. So my whole life I was in Japan and Hawaii, going back and forth, and I couldn't.
Did
I
your,
wanted to always drive in Japan.
did
What
your
was that?
did your parents meet in Japan or in Hawaii?
No, in Hawaii, because my mom was actually going to school in Hawaii, like college.
Oh,
That's
cool.
where she met my dad. Yeah, and then when I was in like high school. She came back to Japan, take care of my grandparents and stuff like that. So she was out here, so I just go back and forth. And at the time, my mom wasn't living in a house big enough where I could park a car there, so I didn't have any connection in Japan, so I couldn't actually drift in Japan yet. So I was just focusing, just driving on the street and just you know, I guess like leveling up my skill
Mhm.
like on the streets in Hawaii. And since the island's so small, once the cops pull you over and you have this freaking bright ass car, because I always had freaking ground lights, like those freaking fluorescent yellow ones. So nobody really had that back then, and it was so easy to spot. So once I got pulled over by cops, it just ruined everything. So I just a mess over there. So yeah, since I was getting like hella tickets, just trying to drive every week, I was just like, F this already. So, and at that same time, my mom and my grandparents moved into a bigger house where we could park like 3 cars. And then, yeah, from there, once there's a spot to put a car, I was like, all right, I'm gonna save my money and then buy like a 180 or something over there. And the first person I kind of started talking that was actually driving in Japan was probably Jesse Streeter, I think. Jesse Streeter and Hito, and I met Naoki right after that. And so when I was visiting here, I would, watch like Kansai All Star. Like back then they had Drift Muscle, but other drift event that Keiichi Tsuchiya used to run. So
Yeah.
I used to watch that, and then finally, Hiroaki, like the Osaka Street King, he found me a 180. So I bought that 180, and I was, pretty much coming here like probably 4 times a year just to drive. And, flying back and forth got expensive, and Hawaii sucked anyway. So I was like, there's no point being in Hawaii, so might as well just sell everything and just live here. So probably came here full time, like 9 years ago now, and then been here ever since.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the drifting originated from and how I ended up in Japan where I am today.
Yeah. So 9 years in Japan, you started a business. Is that because it's pretty hard to make money with like a day job in Japan? Do you kind of have to like be an entrepreneur to be able to afford drifting there?
Yeah, pretty much. Someone like the salarymen in Japan, they do drift, but I seriously don't know how the hell they make ends meet. Like, cause I was like not really a salaryman, I guess, but I used to work for another exporting company called Jap Express. So I was working there. That's kind of how I got the know-how to do everything. So exporting cars, parts, and stuff like that. And that's where I kind of got some of my connections. And after I was there for I think maybe like 3 years, I think I was just like, yeah, F this. I'm just gonna go on my own and do it now. So that's kind of how I started my business. And pretty much back at that old company, it was just only exporting. That's pretty much what that dude that runs it was focusing on. But I pretty much expanded into exporting, even selling parts domestically, building people's cars, storing cars, and doing drift rentals. So I kind of just got the exporting pretty much knowledge and kind of just expanded into other areas in my business that I have today.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the only way I could drift, almost on a weekly basis without freaking being probably homeless and bankrupt and whatnot.
Yeah. I think I think most people can relate. Like you gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
Like
Like when I first moved here, like when I first like moved here, and then when I was working as like just like a salaryman at that other company, I pretty much didn't even drift like for a long time because I couldn't afford it in the beginning.
yeah.
So when I first got there, you only get like 2 grand a month. And at that time I was trying to live with my mom still, so I don't have to pay rent really. And then even then, like already had my car. And then, like one thing would break and you just be not driving for like the whole month because you couldn't like spend your money on anything but to like, to survive like food and whatever.
Yeah.
So when I first moved here, the first couple years when I was still like working at that other company before I can make any commissions, so I'm just kind of like learning and all that stuff. Um, I wasn't really doing too much circuit because it was far for one, and there's hella tolls in Japan. It's freaking expensive.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was just doing street and like mountains in the beginning, and then if I broke like if I blew a turbo or a gearbox, I'm like, "Yeah, I can't drive for like another couple months." And then yeah, so when I first came here, I didn't really drive much, and that was kind of harsh because like being around someone's drifting but not being able to do it or afford it in the beginning was pretty crap. Got into like a depressive state for a little bit.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah, when you can't do the thing that makes you happy, like, it's pretty hard to, like, pull yourself out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in Hawaii, when I couldn't do it, it wasn't that bad because not so many people actually drive, and not there's even more or less people that actually want to drive hard there. So it wasn't as bad when you're not drifting in Hawaii, but when you're not drifting in Japan, it's like worse. It's
Yeah.
like, damn, there's all these events. Oh crap, this console. Oh crap, I can't do it because I don't have a car. Like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Leveling up so fast over there that, like, you're out for 6 months, like, you can't keep up anymore. Is that kinda how it feels?
yeah, yeah. Like when I blew my engine over here, I think I didn't have a car for. I swear to God, I didn't drift for like almost a year. I was like, what the hell am I even doing in Japan? Can't drift. Like, it sucks. And then I sent my engine out to the machine shop, and they were taking forever on it. Like over a year just to machine my block and hone it out and fix the freaking crank and shit. So I didn't have like the car for a while until I bought like a cheap like 180 missile. So on that, I pretty much wrote off at Mayon. So yeah, that kind of took me out the streak, and then I wrote that thing off after.
Yeah, what's streeting like in Japan versus Hawaii?
The skill level, that's the biggest difference that I found out when I first started streeting in Japan. Because like back in Hawaii, I was driving with a lot of the dudes that, because I mean, I don't know if anyone really knows this, but Hawaii was actually probably one of the first states in America that actually started drifting because it was so close to Japan. There's a lot of Japanese people in Hawaii, so it actually started in Hawaii first, and then it moved its way on to like Cali and all that when Forrest Wang and the other Hawaii drivers, like even Alex Pfeiffer and stuff, they started driving in the States, like the mainland side, and that's kind of where it grew. But it was always big in Hawaii. Like when they had the track, D1 drivers would come to Hawaii. They wouldn't really go to Cali before they actually started like Formula D and that D1 America. So those guys from back in that scene I used to drive with on the street in Hawaii. And then to me, they're super good, because I just started and I was trying to chase them around, and I was like, damn, these guys are fast. And then I got to like where their level was. And then I came to Japan thinking I was good, and I drove with dudes here and I was like, holy crap, way different level. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild. And then like the first person I was streeting with was like Hiro and like all those guys. And not Hiro's not so famous on the internet. He's starting to kind of like, people are starting to recognize him, but dude, he is a freaking animal on the street, dude, like in the hills and stuff. So like, and it's not only his like drifting that's crazy, it's like just his driving altogether. Like if you meet up at his shop and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna go to the hills," he wouldn't tell you where it is. He wouldn't tell you. He wouldn't give you the drop pin or anything. He'd just follow me, and dude, the way he gets there is just retarded. Like it's like you're doing a fucking race all the way to the freaking hills, dude. So it's like you lose it, you're not gonna really like know where the hell the track is, like the course. So it's like he pretty much puts you in the position where it's like, yeah, you just got to keep up.
Yeah, you can't keep up.
So
You can't come. Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. So, like, frick, when I first went out with them, I was just like mind blown. I was just like, dude, this guy's doing like freaking fourth gear manjis on the road, like on the normal freaking street. I'm like chasing him straight, and he's like kind of running away from me doing manjis, dude. It's just wild, man. So I was like, holy crap, dude. Like, people in Japan just like, no F's, they
Yeah.
don't give a damn.
Yeah.
It was wild when I first experienced it.
He's definitely a wild Instagram follow. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like he's lesser known, but if you know, you know kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, like back then he didn't even do like much track. Like he didn't really go to the circuit. He does now. He does. He kind of takes like concept all star and stuff seriously now, but back then he just didn't. Like he would do it, but not really care. And then, I think it was kind of like after he got arrested for street drifting, he kind of started doing more circuit stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, what happens if you get arrested for street drifting in Japan? Is it like pretty heavy crime or
yeah, it's a lot heavier than most like other countries because it's not really a traffic violation. They don't treat it that way. They treat it as like bosozoku, like the dudes on the bike that just like wreak havoc, run the tolls, and just biker gang crap, and even like the car scene, like the bosozoku scene, like the ones like the cars. They do like dumb crap in front of the cops, so the cops just put like regular street drifters in that same category. So it's like like a freaking kind of like you could say a gang activity like act type of thing, and that's why the punishment is a lot heavier. So it's not just a fine; it's more like you just go to freaking prison. That's what happened to Hito and stuff too. So that's kind of why the scene in Osaka died
yeah.
compared to like Tokyo and stuff.
Yeah, it seems like it's a lot more strict in Osaka. Like, is that the case or is it just harder to get like I don't know.
Like when I first started street drifting in Osaka, it was like to me the scene just looked more lit than it was in like Daikoku scene, like Tokyo scene.
Yeah.
Like Osaka always had the hardest drivers, especially on the street, like from back in the day. And when I came here, it was still in somewhat of that era. Like you could go to the port, you could go to almost every like course, like any spot on the street, and there would be drivers there. You don't have to call anybody like, hey, do you want to drive? So like you just take your car out and go to some freaking course you want to drive, and there's usually always guys there. That's how it was when I first got here. And pretty much after they had like a huge bus, so like because they would do like the whole countdown drifting thing. It was like the Japanese like takeover of like what America's doing right now, but not the freaking crashing or the lighting the car on fire crap. Without that,
Yeah.
but every New Year's they would just block all the roads off at Nanko area, like the port, and they would just like freaking be doing donuts and crap and blocking the traffic. And I guess after that they started like really cracking down. So like
I
the
saw
cops,
the YouTube videos of that. It's pretty wild. There's like that
yeah, it's like
someone just straight up like rams a cop car.
oh yeah, that S14, the one during the countdown,
Yeah.
the day of the countdown.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was funny because we were drifting that same spot that night, and that dude wasn't a part of our group. Like, so I mean, it was probably like after like everybody else, like Hito's groups were drifting there. That we all went to a different spot, and like some other youngins were over there doing it, and the cops are there, and then the dude just rams the cop car with his S14 and drives off. But everyone was like asking me like, "Who the hell was that?" I was like, "Dude, I have no clue, man. That wasn't a part of like our group. That's probably like after we were all there." So like even to this day, I have no clue who that dude was, or if he got caught or anything like that.
That was wild.
Yeah, that was when So that was when like the Osaka street scene was like real like popping and stuff.
Yeah. Seems like Yokohama, like Oi Wharf area seems to be like pretty pop. Like seems like there's a lot going on there now, and like Osaka.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, like, cause after like Hito got arrested and like a few other guys around him kind of got arrested, and the scene died. Like everyone was like hella scared to go back to the port and drift
I bet.
because like yeah, and the reason why it's not like the cops come there with their cop car. It's not like the patrols cop cars that like bust you. It's the dudes that are wearing like normal clothes that like investigators and detectives. They just rock into the spot, film you, like try to film up your plate if you have a plate, and you have no idea that they're cops. They just look like the regular gallery, like the crowd watching. So that's the reason why people in Osaka just stopped, because they couldn't tell who the hell was the cop and who the hell was people just watching.
Oh shit! So they had like under.
Yeah. Yeah. So they have like undercovers. That's how they bust people in Japan for drifting. So they have undercovers and they don't arrest you on the spot. They investigate your background, investigate who you are. Like if they can catch a plate, like a number plate, which like Hiro and them, they don't run plates like that crew. They don't run plates, but like the youngins that like don't know anything, they go to the port, they have their plate on, they get busted first, and then but the cops would have videos of everybody drifting, so they'd be like, "Who the hell is this guy? Who the hell is this guy?" And they just start ratting on people and just freaking spilling the freaking guts and just trying to get their sentence lesson and just throwing people under the bus. And that's how like it just started. Everybody from like the bottom to the top would just get busted because the younger dudes that run the plates that get caught first, they just just rat everybody else out,
That's
above them. Yeah, so that's why the scene in Osaka is pretty dead now.
I see. I see. Damn, that's really interesting. Yeah, because I saw when I stumbled across your Instagram back in the day, it was all street stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
wondered why, because like I've been trying to see every time I go to Japan, I always miss out on streeting, and so I'm like, now I'm like, every time I go back, I'm like, what's the like? Is anybody going while I'm here? Like, what And it seems like it's not as common as it used to be. So now I know.
yeah. In Osaka, it's like now it's kind of like you have to, get a group together to do some streeting. Like the hills, like Toge, not really. There's still like guys that normally drift to Toge, but like if you're trying to go to like the port, there's like
Yeah,
nobody really wants to go there anymore.
yeah. No one's trying to go. Yeah, like how long do you go to jail for these? Like you have like detectives investigating you. That's like not going to be like a short sentence, right? Like,
Yeah, like pretty much if it's your first offense, like in Japan, the way the law works is if you get arrested, they could, even if you're guilty or not, they can hold you for 20, like about 21, 22 days just to like investigate your ass, like interrogate you and stuff. So like once you get arrested, you're pretty much stuck there for like 20 something days, like mandatory.
that's
Like there's no like there's no pre like what's that called? Like indictment, freaking bail or anything like that. You can only get bail after that 20 days is over. So
uh,
like if you get arrested, it's just like everyone's like, "Oh, bye bye, I'll see you in 20 days," because they know you're not gonna get out
that's
until like after that's all done.
yeah,
So even if it's your first offense and you get caught for drifting, you're still like in there for 20 days, and that 20 days is harsh. So like that's why people just start ratting people out,
yeah.
just so they could get the hell out. And if it's your second offense, like how was Hito's, he was in there for like that 20 days to get investigated and interrogated, and then he came out on bail for a little bit, and then he got sentenced and he had to serve like 1 year like in prison
Yeah,
just for street drifting. Yeah,
yeah. That's
so that kind of spooked everybody. That's
yeah,
kind of why the scene's pretty dead here now.
yeah. A year is a long time to go away.
Yeah, especially in Japanese prison is pretty shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Japanese prison, you are familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, familiar with that crap, but it wasn't for drifting. It was obviously for something else. But I was in there for like 3 years. It was pretty crap until I finally got, my conviction overturned and got a freaking innocent verdict and walked out free man finally.
Yeah.
So
I was like watching like Locked Up Abroad, and I watched the like Japan episode, and I was like, oh, that's what Toshi's dealing with. That fucking sucks. Like,
dude, yeah, it does, man. Like my case it was right when I first started. Like back then I had that JDL company. It was when I first started that, and then this dumbass guy, another dude. He was Japanese, but he grew up in Hawaii as well, and I knew him from Hawaii, and he moved as well when I moved here. And he was working for me, and he was working with a bunch of idiots that freaking used to send in freaking weed from like Cali and Hawaii and stuff to here. But the thing was that those guys were just bringing it on the plane and just coming here and giving it to that guy, and he would kind of just like sell it to like those dudes' friends and customers and whatnot. And then once COVID hit and nobody could do any traveling, they just like had this stupid smart idea what they thought was sending it through the mail. And then they were sending it through the mail, and it was actually coming to that guy that used to work at my company at JDL. And then one of them got stopped by the customs, and one day he just didn't show up for work. At the time, and I was like, dude, where the hell is he? There's no way he's like sleeping still. He doesn't really do that. He kind of wakes up like before I do. And
Yeah.
then I find out from one of my other friends from Hawaii because he was kind of like dating that guy's wife's younger sister. So he knew first and he called me. He was like, like that guy's name was Keto, by the way. And he was like, dude, Keto got arrested. And then like in my head, it didn't click why. I was like, the hell did you do? What the hell's going on? And then I remember he sent a box like to like an Airbnb that was under his name for that other dude that's in America that was sending freaking weed here. And I was like, oh crap, it has to be for that. And then pretty much I was like, oh well that sucks. And then I was like, whatever, maybe he'll come out in 20 days. I don't know how like what the hell they have like evidence on him or whatnot. I didn't really know anything like in detail. I knew he was doing it, but I didn't actually know like in detail how he was doing it, where it was going, whatnot. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
And then um his wife was talking to us saying like, oh, do I know anything about it and stuff? Am I involved? And I was like, no. Like I know he was doing that because he was doing that crap before he even started working at my company. But am I involved? No. And then she was like, oh, okay. And then she stops talking to me like right after that, like block me on off Instagram and shit. And I was like, what the hell? Why the hell did she block me off Instagram? And I was like, that's kind of weird. And then like 20 something days later, I get arrested. And I was like, yo, what the hell? And I was like, how the hell did I get arrested? Like, what the fuck? And then so they started interrogating me, like, what do you know? Where's all the
You were just like at your business and they just like came in.
No, they came to my house. That's how they arrest you in Japan. They don't like rock up to you where you have a chance to run away. They know they watch you go into your house, go to sleep, and they're still out there. And then like as soon as like it's 6 o'clock or whatever, they just knock on your door where you can't do anything. That's how they arrest you in Japan.
Well,
Yeah, so right when I was leaving for work is when they came to my house, and I was like, "What the hell, man?" And then they pretty much searched my whole house, and then they came to my company at the time, a different place, and they searched the whole company looking for freaking weed or anything that had anything to do with that freaking crime, and they didn't find anything. And then I was getting interrogated the whole time, like getting questioned what the hell I know or am I involved and whatnot. And then at the time, the cops or the detectives were playing stupid, not telling me anything. They're just asking me questions, and then finally like the last like 10 days they finally said like, oh yeah, that guy Keto, yeah, you said you're the one that made him do it. And I was just like, what the hell? I was like, no freaking ways. I was like, oh my god, that's why I got arrested, because this guy's fucking trying to blame me. And like long story short, he blamed me the whole entire time. And in Japan, like in the justice system, if you admit to what, like I guess whatever charges they have against you, you can get bail like right after like the 20 something days is up. But if you deny the charges, dude, they will just hold your ass the whole time. And if and then like when I found out how much weed they were sending, and I had a lawyer at the time, and he told me like how heavy the crime was. I was like, dude, why would I admit to that crap when I didn't do it? Especially like what that guy was blaming me for was saying that I made him do it. I asked him to do it. I asked him to do it. I become like the main like offender, which carries a harsher sentence. So I was like, dude, I did not make him do that shit. And at the time, I didn't have any evidence in my, because I'm arrested. They take your phone and everything. So I can't like show them like, how the hell is this me? I can't prove that without like my phone and stuff. So, you know, all I could say was that's freaking BS. And like coming from, because me, I'm half Japanese, but I don't look it. The other guy, he's full Japanese, like so he looks it and he sounds it and everything. And in Japan, they're not gonna lie, but they're pretty racist against people that don't really look Japanese. Like you'll know when you come here. Everyone thinks that Japanese people are real nice, but it's kind of like they hold stuff against you if you're not Japanese. It's real freaking crap. So, me saying I didn't do it without actually having, the opportunity to prove it, they just indicted me. And once you're indicted, you can either get bail, but if you deny your charges, they just keep you in there until your trial's over. And I'm not sure if you guys heard about that Carlos Ghosn crap. that Nissan CEO, the
No.
dude that escaped. You haven't heard of that?
Uh,
But it was like right before I got arrested, like probably the year prior. The Nissan CEO, like I think he was from Lebanon. He was from Lebanon, and he was, I guess, like embezzling and doing all kind of shady crap with Nissan and stuff. And then he got arrested for that, and he was denying the charge, and he was like stuck in like jail awaiting trial for a long time, like maybe a little over a year, I think. And then he finally got bail, and then dude, he just fled, dude. They like
I
he
think
was a you
yeah,
haven't heard of that?
yeah, I've heard of it. That was crazy.
Oh yeah, so like yeah, he ran away. He fled like right before I got arrested. So like getting bail, being like a dual citizen was like already just so hard for me because like if I'm not admitting to it, they're like nah. And like half of that too was because Carlos Ghosn just fled when they let him out. So they're just like even more strict than usual.
Yeah.
So I could not get bail, and the guy that blamed me and put me and framed me, he got bail because he admitted that he did it because it was so obvious. I found out that the Airbnb was under him, all his texts to that other dude over there, where he was texting him like the tracking number and all that crap. It was all there, so he had like no way out of it. So obviously he's like, "Oh yeah, I did it." But the reason why I did it is because my boss at work asked me to do it to like lessen his sentence, his own freaking crime. Yeah, so and he hit the guy that actually made him do it. So he pretty much put me in that other guy's position, saying that that was me when it was somebody totally different. And yeah, so there was no way in hell I was gonna admit to that, and they just held me the whole entire time in the beginning. So I got arrested, and I did the 20 days. No evidence came out. They didn't find anything in my house, and they, like searched it. And I was there. From there, I was inside solitary for like a year and a half because, yeah, dude. So like the way I guess the whole like justice system works is that first they interrogate you at the police station, and then you get indicted, and then they move you to like it's pretty much the same thing as prison because like convicted, like inmates and prisoners and all that, they're all in that same facility. So they send you there because they obviously know you're gonna stay a long time. There's not that much space in the actual police station jails. So they sent me off to this freaking prison in Osaka. And then because I didn't admit and they were like trying hella hard for me to admit to it, they put me in solitary confinement, and then they didn't allow any letters. I couldn't see my wife. I couldn't see anybody else. No one could visit me. No one could talk to me except my lawyer. So they put me in that situation where they made everything so damn harsh where they're like, "Oh, this guy will probably admit, so you can finally get bail or whatnot." And I was like, "Dude, no ways, man. This freaking charge like carries like close to 10 years. Like, if I get convicted for it, so why the hell would I admit to something I didn't do?"
Yeah.
So, you know, I pretty much stuck with it, didn't admit to anything because I didn't do it. And I thought the trial would be a lot faster. I was like, okay, I'll just try and fight this, this freaking trial. And then hopefully with my case and it'll be all done within like, hopefully before a year. My lawyers at the time were thinking it would be, maybe a year, maybe not, depends how fast everything, moves. But the the only thing there was a problem with my side was I didn't have any evidence to prove that I was innocent. They just had lack of evidence on their side, but I didn't have anything to prove my side, like, my innocence.
Oh, like just
So
figure it out.
yeah, so that like my lawyers didn't want to go to trial like that because in Japan there's a 99% conviction rate. So once you're indicted, you're pretty much screwed. So like no matter what, it's freaking harsh, dude. Like I think like Japan has one of the highest conviction rates in like all, the world. Like once you get indicted, dude, you're just screwed. That's why once people get indicted, they call it kiso in Japanese. Once you get indicted, people are like, I'm screwed. There's no point in trying to drag this further. So they just admit even if they didn't do it. That's why there's like a million freaking wrongful convictions in Japan because everybody that knows the system knows that once you get indicted and you're denying the charge, dude, your trial's gonna take forever, and people, depending on their charge, if they could get out faster, if they do prison, they would just admit and just go to prison, serve their time, and come out. But for me, I didn't have a year or 2 years hanging over my head. It was like years, like almost 6 to 10 year. If I was gonna admit to it, so I was like, no, I'll take the chance and fight this, and just see where it goes. So, and the prosecutors in Japan are crooked as hell, man. And you can look online and research the Japanese, justice system, and you'll realize how crooked it is, because the judges are pretty much always on the prosecutor's side, like all the time. Like all the rulings go the prosecutor's way. It's real messed up. And I had like this crooked judge in the beginning where my lawyers were trying to get Keto's phone, the guy that framed me, his phone, so we could pretty much find evidence that that guy that made him do it is not me. So for like half a year, my lawyers are trying to freaking file how many motions and all that to get the phone so they could investigate the phone and the messages, so I could pull my side of it, my side, evidence, so I could fight my case. And the judge at the time was just like, nah, because the prosecutor said they don't want you touching the phone. It's not like I'm touching the phone, it's my lawyers touching the phone. And we just couldn't get the freaking phone out of the prosecutor's freaking hand. And finally, it's weird how the justice system works in Japan, because every like October and every April, the prosecutors and the judges just change. Even the cases, not even finished. Like, so it's real, like kind of retarded, especially in my eyes, when I was like, okay, why did the freaking judges and the prosecutors change when like the case is not finished? That new judge and the new prosecutor has to relearn everything for this to continue. So I was like, that's just retarded. And then finally the judges changed, and this other judge actually finally granted my lawyers to investigate the phone. And that's where all the evidence came out where I could use to prove, my innocence. So it was a harsh thing because I'm in solitary. I can't physically see the phone. So I have 4 lawyers at the time, because I was like, the hell, I want to get convicted for this shit. No way. So they were pretty much like scanning and freaking taking photocopies of like every single freaking chat in his phone, like every app, like Line app, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, like everything. Dude, I had like I had files stacked like almost as tall as me in my cell, and they said go through all this and like mark what the hell is like proves the innocent, and then send it back to us. And I was like, dude, what the hell? I have to read like it was crazy, man. So like
I'll chill in there too.
every day. Dude. Yeah, so I went in there in solitary, like going through all this evidence, like trying to freaking pick out what proves me innocent. Finally, I got through all of it, sent it all in, and then
How long did
the first trial from the day I got arrested to till the verdict, it took a year and like 8 months or something like that. Just for the first trial for weed. That's how long it took. That's like the same amount of time that like a murder trial will happen in America. So it was just retarded. I was like, what the hell, man? And then, I'm in solitary and there's nothing to do in there. So I was just going through the evidence and, just trying to like fight my own case pretty much. And then after you pretty much, get all the evidence you can, you have to pretty much submit it to the court. And then the judges decide whether or not you can even use it in the trial or not. It was so retarded. So pretty much I went to court like, I swear, like 20 times while I was fighting the first trial. They'd go over there and they'd have this stupid meeting for like, I swear, 30 minutes. They're like, all right, so what do you got? And my lawyer would be like, okay, I got these evidence that, they would explain it. Like, all right, well, we'll decide at a later time. And then finally, like a year and maybe like 4 months, like stood, and then finally it was like the trial. It wasn't the trial yet. They call it like the pre-trial type of thing. And then finally, the last like actual pre-trial, the judge decided what evidence he'll you could use and what evidence you can't. So all of the stuff that was like obviously wasn't me, he kind of took, and the ones that were like showed it was somebody else, he kind of like, oh no, I'm not gonna let you use that evidence. So it was like really retarded because the judges changed like I think twice during my like the first trial, the first period. So like the actual trial judge was like this. It was actually three judges. There's a chief judge and two like sub judges. And in the beginning, the chief judge made it look like he was real fair. I was like, oh, this is like a real like impartial like judge. And then during the pre-trial and during the trial, he just turned freaking crooked, dude. Like I was like, dude, this guy's oh shit, I don't know, man. Like this guy just turned like real quick once the trial started. And they actually had that guy Keto come and testify against me. So the prosecutor pretty much groomed him what to say during that freaking trial, but the prosecutor didn't, I guess, warn him of what the hell we submitted and what evidence we're about to use. So it was funny because how the trial works, I'm pretty sure in America is the same, but the prosecutor goes first. They pretty much prove their case, and then the defendant, and the defense lawyer, they prove their case after they kind of like reboot whatever the hell the prosecutor said. So the first stage was that idiot guy Keto testified against me and said whatever he wanted to say, still blaming me. And then during cross-examination, my lawyers had all this evidence against him where it was obviously not me. And when he got questioned, he couldn't even answer. He just kept trying to lie and he was just getting boxed in. It was really funny to watch because like when I seen that, I was like, there's no way this judge is gonna believe any of that crap he said. Because even the judges are allowed to ask like the witness questions. And when they asked him the questions, the answers he was giving was retarded. So it was like so obvious during the first trial that it was obviously somebody else that made him do it and it wasn't me. So during the trial, like after that idiot got on the witness stand and pretty much fucked up the whole prosecutor's case because the crap he said, I had like some hope that I was gonna like get a not guilty verdict. And right after, because the reason why I couldn't get bail as well is because they said that they didn't want me being able to contact him and change his testimony, even though he admitted. So his trial ended super fast. So he got bail, was out for like 5 months, got convicted like 3.5 years, and went to prison. So once you're in prison, you can't really like contact anybody. So the whole time I was trying to get bail, the prosecutors were like, no, he's gonna contact Keto and like freaking change his testimony and he's gonna ruin our side of the evidence. So I couldn't get out. That's another reason too. And then finally when he took the witness stand, said all his bullshit, and then the judges realized that the crap he said was like 90% freaking false. Like probably 2 days later I got bail right after that. And I finally got out. And I was out for maybe like 3 months. So I was like, oh, maybe, okay, I got bail finally. Maybe I'm actually going to get an innocent, a not guilty verdict because I actually got out. And then the last trial, like pretty much the last day of the trial, the prosecutor has to like demand some type of like sentence. I demand like you give him like 6 years, and they told that to Keto during his trial because my lawyers went to go watch his trial. They demand like 6 years, but for me, there were like 7 years the prosecutor was trying to demand. And I was like sitting in the freaking witness chair. And then they're like, oh, and you should give him like 7 years and like $15,000 fine or some crap like that. And in Japan, if you get a fine as well on top of your sentence, if you don't pay off that fine before you get out, you're stuck in there longer because since you didn't pay that fine, you have to stay in there and work every day, and you get like $50 off your fine a day. So you work inside the prison jail, like the prison working area, and you get $50 a day, and then you have to work that $50 a day until like 15 grand is paid off, and that's like way longer. So it's like 7 years plus 15 grand that you have to pay off if you don't have the money at the time.
That's crazy.
So yeah. So I was like, holy crap, like 7 years. And then I went back home and I was kind of freaking out. I was still out. And then the next, trial, it's not a trial day, it's the verdict date. It was like a month. It was like a month later or something. So I was like, that month I was just sweating. I was like, dude, like I'm free right now, but not really. I have like I don't know, like I was just nerve wracking, because like even though I was pretty confident I was gonna get a not guilty, just hearing 7 years, it was just like I couldn't get it out of my head. And so the verdict day came, and I was thinking that I was gonna walk out of there. I was like, all right, this is where it all ends. And then, dude, the judge gives you like 3 years. He gives you 3 years and like 10 grand fine. I was like, oh my god, like even 3 years is freaking long. I just was in there for like a year and a year and a half, and I was in solitary, and I was like, fucking hell. And then, like in Japan, once they give you that conviction and sentence, pretty much you just get taken away from the court right there on the spot back to jail. So I didn't have a chance to say bye or anything. I was just like, holy crap. And then, so the way the system works in Japan is pretty much if you're a free man on bail, you get convicted, they just take you right there back to jail. But if you're in jail, they just take you back, and it's just a normal court hearing kind of thing. But they like people that are out on bail, if they kind of know they're gonna get sentenced and sent to jail, like prison, they usually bring like all their clothes and whatever the hell they need in jail at that verdict date. And I wasn't really overconfident. My lawyers were pretty confident, and they're like, "Nah, I think we won that after Keto just like full freaking effed up on the witness stand." So I was like, "I hope so. I'm not bringing anything, because if I bring anything to freaking that trial, like that verdict date, I'm just gonna jinx myself."
Yeah.
And I didn't bring anything. My wife had my wallet and my keys, and I got taken away right there on the spot with nothing. And it was right before Golden Week, so it was like a little over a week holiday. And um in the jail, if it's a holiday or a weekend, like no one could give you anything from the outside, like clothes or anything like necessities, like toothbrush, toothpaste, shampoo, whatever. No one can give you any of that, even if they buy a thing. And I don't know if that judge literally put my verdict day right before that holiday, that week, and like week long, like 10-day, almost 10-day holiday. So I was like, dude, I like came into jail with nothing. I'm like wearing like borrowed freaking like loaner clothes. All I have is like a fucking bar of soap and like a freaking toothbrush with like a little bit freaking bit of toothpaste. And my wife and my family couldn't give me anything during that time. So I was like, I didn't have any books, nothing. Dude, I was like back in solitary. It was fucked up because they put me back in the same exact cell I walked out when I was on bail. They took me back, and like the head like guard of that like cell block was like, "Oh, welcome back." And I was like, "Dude, F you." Yeah. I was like, "Damn, what the hell, man?" And then he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're gonna be in this cell again." And I was like, "Dude, I just walked out of this cell like 3 months ago, and I'm back in this cell." Fuck, man. And then at the time, I didn't know what the hell to think. I wasn't sure what the hell to do, and I couldn't see any. You can't get any visits during the holidays either. And my first trial, they pretty much restricted all my visits and like the letters and all that. But once you get convicted, they can't put that on you anymore. They can't, like, it's called yeah, I don't know, in Japanese it's called like section kinshi, yeah, but I think in English it's called like holding you incommunicado or something like that. So like they can't hold you in that type of situation during the second trial or if you get convicted. So I got to see my family and my wife and stuff, and um they came to visit me the day they sent me back. It was like a Friday or something like that, and like the next day was a holiday. So they came to visit me. We talked. The visit's only like 15-minute logs. We talked like, what the hell happened, man? What back here, this sucks. And then the holiday went through. I had nothing. I had no books. They gave me like one book, and I'm like just losing my mind. It was the harshest part of my life I had to deal with, because I dealt with being in there for like a year and a half, but I had like books and like writing utensils and stuff. But this time for like that like 10 days, I had nothing, dude. So like I'm like losing my mind in this cell. And then finally, like, because if they if they hold you like that incommunicado, you're not allowed to be like in the general population inside of the facility as well.
Oh, so you were.
So you you can't talk to anybody.
Whoa.
Yeah, so you can't talk to anybody outside. You can't talk to anybody inside except for the guards. And the guards are pretty freaking cold too in Japan. So pretty much the second time I was in there, I was allowed visitors and letters, and you could only get one visit a day during the weekday and like one letter a day, or you could only send out one letter a day. So finally, I was able to. I was back in the same situation, but at least this time I could see my wife and everybody. So they would visit like almost every day. You know, I just started my company back up, and now I was running for 3 months, and I'm back in here. I was freaking. I was like, dude, this sucks, you know. And at the time when I came out the second time, I didn't have any staff. You know, everybody kind of. Well, one staff was in prison, and the other one he left to a different company and stuff. And my cousin as well went back to Hawaii. So I begged my cousin to come back here and like just run the company again because I didn't want to shut it down again. Because I was like, no, okay, frick. Because then my lawyers were telling me if I appeal the verdict, it's probably going to take a few months. And then I either get convicted again, the sentence doesn't change, or I get a lesser sentence, or I get, you know, not guilty. So there's like three things that could happen if I appealed. And at the time, I was like, okay, if it's only a few months, might as well just, you know, take the chance and see if the sentence gets lessened even, or if I get probation, or if I just get off completely. And you know, I was thinking like 3, 4 months because that's kind of what it should be at. So I was like, all right, fuck it, whatever. I told my lawyer, okay, well, whatever, we'll appeal the verdict and we'll try again, and then hopefully it's over in 4 months, and you know something good happens. And then like literally like they turn in the appeal and nothing happens for like half a year at first. I was like, dude, what the hell? Like I would tell my lawyer, like, dude, I thought this was gonna be over like 4 months and nothing happened. It's been half a year. And they was like, dude, we're trying to like push it. But I think because now it's a higher court that's judging the second trial, it's not the same like district court judges. It's kind of like it's not the Supreme Court of Japan, but it's like kind of like the middle. Like it's called like high court in Japan. So it was like higher level judges that are judging the second trial, but then they were taking like hella long to even move. So I was like, dude, it's been half a year and nothing's happening. Like I could be serving half a year of my sentence, you know, because then I got 3 years and I was like, dude, okay, I'd be like at 2.5 right now, but now I'm just doing nothing. And then I think like after 4 months, I was like begging the freaking guards to like take me out of like solitary because I technically didn't need to be in there because it was just harsh. And I was like, dude, I was in here because I was like being held that way from the court, but now like they're not holding it that way. So can you like do something about this and get me the hell out of here? And like put me in like yeah, put me in like general population side. Like, oh yeah, but there's like too much people there, and then he just kept making all these excuses. And then like finally, like after I think 4 months, they finally put me in like a different cell with like people in it. So that was like a huge like relief at the time
Yeah,
because
like 2 years into
like solitary, dude, like
solitary.
full solid. Yeah, and it's like harsh in there. Like I assume like in America and other countries, like they put you in a cage, they put you in a cell or whatever, and you can kind of do whatever the hell you want as long as you're in there. But in Japan, it's not like that. Everything is regulated in Japanese jail. Like you have to sit the whole day. Like you're
What?
not allowed to. Yeah, you're not allowed to lay down. They catch you laying down, they're gonna freaking, dude, they're gonna beat the hell out of you or something. Nah, they're not gonna beat you up, but they'll fucking scream at you, and then yeah, like you're not allowed to lay down. You can't stand up unless you're walking to the toilet or something, or you're brushing your teeth. But if you're just standing and like reading a book or like reading a letter, they're like, "What the hell are you doing standing up?" It's like, "Oh, I don't know." It's like sit down, and you have to sit down the whole day, like from the morning because you wake up 7:30, like 7 o'clock, and you go to sleep at 9. And during that period, you have to sit the whole time, and you don't sleep on a bed. There's like a futon you have to like fold every morning and put away. And so,
Oh,
being alone in there and not being able to talk and being forced to sit all day was just like hell, dude. Like it was crap. So I was like, okay, well, I need to get the hell out of this solitary cell. So I did whatever I could. And then since I was dual citizen as well,
yeah.
um, like the American consulate will come and visit like once a month as well. And if I had any problems, I'd talk to them and they talk to the freaking prison and whatnot, try to help me out as well. So they were trying to do something about it as well. Also my lawyers. And finally I got out of there and then went to the other cell with people in it. And like it's I mean, you're with other people, but it's not like so free. Like
Yeah.
in other countries, you're in the cell like a certain amount of hours and then y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're in the cell and then they let you out. Like this is what I'm assuming. This is what I'm assuming because this is like what I see on TV and stuff. Like they put you in a cell like overnight, and in the morning they open the cell up and like you're out in like some day room type of thing, doing whatever the hell you want with people. But in Japan, solitary and like the regular like general population side, you're in the cell 24 hours a day. You're not out of that cell at all unless you have to shower or they let you out in some ghetto ass room, like another room that's on the roof that's still covered. Not you don't really see the sun. And you're only there for like 30 minutes. So they let you out there for 30 minutes and that's only like 2 times a week. And then you're only allowed 2 showers a week.
Is that every
So if you don't have
time or is it
everybody,
oh, okay. So that's how you could be like, oh,
no. Yeah, so like everybody. So, but like it's funny because like they put you in like a cell with like 6 people, and you're
oh,
stuck with those 6 people. So you're not with a bunch of people. You're stuck with 6 people, 24 hours a day. And then even when they take you out of that cell to take you to like this other place to like exercise, even though the room's empty, you're still stuck with those 6 people, and you're not allowed to like look at the guards in jail. You're not allowed to talk or even wave at the other dudes in the other cell. Like, dude, they're hella strict. So, like, it's pretty much like military robot type of crap. Where like, even if you go on a visit and you're like, the guards pick you up, like, oh, you have a visitor, and they're like marching your ass to the freaking visiting room. You have to like be looking straight. You start looking like this, dude, will scold you like, who the hell are you looking at, or who the hell are you trying to give a signal to? They're like really strict. So like you're walking in a freaking straight line. Like you can't move your head or your eyes. You have to just walk straight. So like they don't let you like look around or look at other people or look at the guards and stuff like that. And yeah, it's real freaking harsh. And even in the shower, like when you're in solitary, you shower alone. But when you're with those like 6 people, like those rooms, you shower like together. But even when you're showering together, you can't say a single damn word. You have to shower and then like they after you're done showering, you dry off, you put your clothes on, you have to face the wall like the whole time. So everybody else is done showering. So you're done showering and then you have to like face the wall until everyone's done. And then they're like yell at you to turn and you turn and you start walking back to the cells. So it's like harsh, man. It's
talk in the cells at all?
Tom.
Can you talk like while you're in the cell with other?
Yeah. If you're in the cell, you can talk. That was the thing. So that was like a huge like relief when I got to talk to people, because like when I was in solitary, I didn't speak at all, and it like dude, when I got to talk, it was like only in Japanese, and like I kind of forgot how to speak English. It was like freaking pretty bad, dude. Like everyone thinks it's like, oh, it's when you grew up speaking English, like. But it's like you don't speak English for like a year and a half. Like, dude, you're either gonna forget it or it just doesn't come out naturally. It was like every time I had to like see the consulate officers, it was like I had to force the English out, and it was like weird. It wouldn't just come to my mind like naturally because I didn't speak it at all, like zero. Yeah. So like the second like trial, I I was in like the other cell, so like you're not really allowed to do anything else. It's kind of like solitary, the lifestyle, but you're just can talk. That was the only difference. But talking, does a lot. It just helps your mental and all that stuff.
I don't
So
like being at the house by myself and not talk like a whole day. Like fuck, dude. I'd lose my
yeah,
mind. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I was like losing my mind when I was in solitary. I was like, I don't know. That's why I kind of have like some fucking mental issues sometimes,
Dude,
just
yeah.
like F's you up.
Like that's been proven. Like solitude
Yeah,
is like very bad for humans.
dude. Yeah, it's like one of the most number one like stress that you can put on the human brain is just being, isolated.
Yeah. Fuck. Cora Works. I appreciate Cora Works because they're good dudes. They make drifting fun. They got good style, and they know how to have a good time. What more could you want in drifting? They support the pros. They support the grassroots. They support the homies. And they do cool stuff. Have them build you a car. Have them help you pick what to put on your car because they know what's up. Head on down to Cora Works in person. You can call them, tell them I sent you, or you can get them online, buy yourself some cool shit. We have a discount code just for the Cora Works products, not everything, but it's Goodest Boy, GOODESTBOY. Put it in, get yourself some freaking sick stuff. We love Cora Works.
Yeah, so yeah, that was pretty harsh. And then the second trial took like almost a year and a half to like, and I wasn't able to get bail as well. So I couldn't get bail again, and it's real crooked how the system works there. Like over here in Japan, it's like the first trial they could deny it for like a million reasons, but like a lot of the reasons that people don't get is because you didn't admit, and they'll just be like, "Oh, you're gonna get on tamper with everything." So that's the number one reason why people don't get out the first trial. And the second trial, they pretty much submitted all the evidence, the prosecution and the defense side. So they already have the evidence, the court. So you can't really tamper with it once they have it. So like the second time you try to do bail, there's no reason for them to say, "Oh, you're gonna tamper with evidence. We're not gonna let you out." But then the law changes when you go into an appeal case that once you get convicted, you don't have the right to get out anymore. So like they would deny my bail like for like a little over a year under those circumstances, saying like, "Oh, we don't really have, we're not, forced to let you out. Like you don't have the right to get out because you're convicted." So the law changes. So I was like, okay, the second trial, they already have the evidence. I should get bail. I did bail like right after I got convicted, and then you get like a notice. The guards give you like a notice, like, "Oh, it got denied." And then there's all these reasons, and they'll circle what reasons, and like I was getting denied during the first trial, so I kind of remembered like each reason why I could like not get out. They were like, "Oh, it's reason number 4 and 5." And it's like, okay, so I'm tampering with evidence or whatever, and they just circle it. That's the reason. That's the reason why I'm not getting out. And the second try, I got the notice, and the rules were different. And it was like, "Oh, you're not getting out because of this reason." And I read it, and I was like, "Because I got convicted, I don't have a right to get out." So I was like, "Damn!" So you don't have a bail right once you get convicted. So they're using that reason for me to be stuck there for another year. And finally, it was weird. Finally, like I actually went to court because during the second trial, I didn't go to court at all, like not once. And finally, like a year and a month went by, and I finally went to court, and they finally let me out right after that. And my lawyers were like, "No, this time these 3 judges seem fair. They're like from the higher court, and they're actually like viewing the case." Because the first trial, I forgot to mention, but I got convicted because I wasn't I wasn't like the ringleader of it. They knew I didn't do it because it was too obvious. But they're like, "Oh, because like I like kind of was like involved and knew about it. I'm like some type of like I'm somewhat related in this situation, so they just convicted me."
Yeah, that's
Yeah. So like there was no evidence at all in the first conviction, but they're like, "Oh, since I knew about it, since this and that." And it was funny because like the idiot that actually imported it, he was like, because he didn't have a car, and he was sending it to some Airbnb, and then he's telling me like, "Oh, dude, I have to go pick up that box at the Airbnb. Can I borrow your car?" And I'm like thinking in my head, like, okay, well, if he doesn't pick that crap up, he's gonna get arrested or whatnot. Something bad's gonna happen. He's not gonna pick it up. So I was like, whatever. And then so he would just like leave work or not come to work right away, borrow my car, and go wait at that Airbnb. And then he realized it wasn't coming, so he would just come to work and shit. So I'd be texting him while I work, like, dude, when are you coming in, man? And then he was like, I don't know, waiting for this box. I'm like, whatever. And then like he texts you the next like that night. He's like, yo, can I borrow your car again? Because I gotta go wait for that box. And like looking at the tracking, I think it's gonna come tomorrow. And fucking, I need to pick it up, and then I'll come to work right after. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So like the judges use those texts against me, saying like, well, I let him borrow my car. I let him, like take off work and whatnot. Yeah, it was just really stupid. So I was like, oh, okay. So I guess that's why they have a 99% conviction rate here, is because you get convicted for freaking anything, even though it's not directly involved in the actual case. So my lawyers were fighting in the second trial, um, pretty much proving that that's such freaking lack of evidence, and what we proved on our side was way more greater than what they convicted me for, because I pretty much proved it wasn't me. That's the main reason why I got arrested, and I proved that it wasn't me, and I didn't make him do anything. And he acted on his own with his own stupid.
Not only might as well keep them kind of thing. Like, they're just like,
yeah, yeah. So like, finally, the second trial went by, and then I got out. I was out for a few months, and finally, I got a not guilty verdict, and I got, I walked out free, man. So I don't have any arrest record because, I overturned the whole conviction. I won my case, but it took like a total of 3 years to even get to that point. It's dumb because I got a 3-year sentence, but yet I was still there for 3 years.
yeah.
So I mean, I don't have a felony over my head. I'm clean. My record's clean, but just to like get that verdict and for it to take 3 years because Japan is so freaking behind times and just real, crooked. And it's just really, it sucks, because like you get into that situation and it completely fucks up your life. I lost like everything. I have to remake my whole business again. When I caught out, I didn't have any drift cars. Like all my engines, my VET engine I was building back in the day for my main car, that's gone. Everything got sold off. Everything, so I have to like start from scratch again.
Yeah.
So it really put me like at a pretty shit position. I do have a lot of like ill will against the system in Japan because how crooked they are, and that's it was like during that time you can get newspapers and shit in jail, and like I was getting newspapers, and this is right when Carlos Ghosn fled, and the reason why he was like just that guy was just getting interviewed everywhere because like he fled to his country, which they don't have like that, like what is it called, like yeah, that. So he's like free, he can do whatever he wants because he's not gonna get extradited and shit. And so he's like talking how crooked the system is in Japan. So he's like, "Oh yeah, they're freaking crooked. Like once you deny that charge, you're stuck there. Like you can't do anything about it." And for like for Japan to have a 99% conviction rate, he knew he was going to get convicted. I mean, he was probably guilty as well, anyways. But the fact that how the system works, and all that, he was like, "F that," and he was just saying that all over the newspaper, like, "Oh, that place is crooked. The way the freaking justice system is." So I'm like reading that, yeah. So I was
in there. Like, what were like your? I mean, like, I'm sure there were probably times when you're like, "Fuck this!" Like, they could just have it. Like, I'll just say, "Did it? I'll do my shit." Like, I don't have to fight this anymore. Like, what kept you like, going? And like,
well, the main thing was if I admitted it was heavy. If I was the ringleader, yeah, the main offender, it was like heavy, like 6 to 10, and I'm like, damn, either fight for like a couple years and let at least either lessen the charge that's on me, or at least just try get a not guilty verdict. So it like, for example, if it was like street drifting and it was like a year, and I was saying that wasn't me and they're gonna keep me in trial for a year, I probably would have, admitted and just went, But
Round two.
to you know, so like I couldn't admit that I was the one that made him do it because I was like, I already knew it was like, you know, 6 to 10. That's what it was.
Yeah, like how
Or
old would
what
you have been if you did 10 years from the
dude, I would have came out when I'm like 38 because I got arrested when I was 28. I was like, I just turned 28 and I was like sick. And then no, actually I got arrested when I was 27. So like the rest of my 20s disappeared
Yeah.
after 27 because I came out and I was already 30. So
Whoa.
yeah. Yeah. So I was like, damn, what the hell, man? I only have 7 years of my 20s. That sucks. So I was like real freaking irritated at that. But I just have to make the best of it, rebuild my life, get my cars back, build some cars again, get back into driving.
How
Yeah.
what was it like rebuilding your life after that whole experience?
It was pretty crap because it wasn't that I just got arrested and went away. It was more like because there's so many different rumors going around
Yeah.
during that time. And that time, like the company I was running was like, I was, selling a lot of containers and stuff. So I would sell containers and other people would buy and, they'd have me put their stuff into other people's containers so they could get it. And I had maybe like 5 containers I was waiting to send. I got arrested. So nobody was getting anything, because it was all stuck in Japan. And so a lot of people thought I scammed them, like how some people actually do, collect this money, say you got the part and disappear. But in my case, that wasn't the case because I didn't disappear. I just got arrested and I couldn't send the containers. And so the last guy that was working at my place, he wasn't capable of doing the containers by himself. So he had another company send the containers, help him out. But that process didn't happen until like ages later, like months later. But the thing that made it, that prolonged it was because I couldn't talk to anybody in there, from jail. So for a year and a half, I had no idea what the hell was going on with my company. So I couldn't give any advice or any information of how to do anything because I was stuck in there incommunicado. So like everyone's trying to like, oh, how do I send these containers? And they can't ask me, Like my wife could even talk to me. So they were stuck with all these parts, all these cars that were just stuck in the yard and the shop. Nobody knew how to send it. And there were so many customers at the time, they couldn't just contact every customer and be like, this is the situation. So a lot of the rumors was that I scammed them and disappeared or something sus happened. And nobody was getting their money back and nobody was getting their parts back. So, and then after I guess time went by, people realized that I was stuck in jail for something I didn't do. And then some people got, a lot of people got their parts and their cars after. But during the beginning, it was like a mess. Like so many people talking a bunch of crap, saying I'm a freaking scammer and stuff like that. So when I came out, I had to pretty much, you know, prove that that's not the truth and pretty much pretty much clear my name, I guess, from those freaking rumors that were false. So that's why like when I came out on bail the first time, I was still fighting the first trial. My lawyers didn't really want me to use social media much because the trial was still ongoing and the prosecution could use anything I said anywhere. So if I'm filming something like on the internet while the trial is going and they find it and they can just piece some words and whatever, something I said and just change the story and use it against me. So during the first part, I didn't do any of that because, the trial was ongoing. I didn't want the prosecution to take any stupid information and turn it into something else, because another disadvantage I had was that a lot of the evidence was in English and Japanese prosecutors, judges, they can't read it. So they had a translator try to translate all the freaking English. And the guy that got arrested was from Hawaii, and so was the dudes that were in Hawaii making him do it was from Hawaii or Cali. So they all didn't speak like proper English. It was like pigeon English.
Yeah.
You
Oh, I
know,
can imagine
so
like Japanese like court translator trying to
dude,
translate pigeon English
yeah,
into Japanese.
dude, it was more than half of it was wrong. So like the translations, I read the translation. I was like, dude, that's not what it says in there. So that's another reason that like like prolonged the whole like the case because like my lawyers had to go through all the translation with a different translator that knew what the hell what English like the pigeon English was.
Yeah.
So they had to retranslate everything and prove that that's what it said on there without me the court thinking that the lawyers are just making crap up, you know. So yeah, I had to like put like our side translator, their side translator on the stand and whatnot, do their testimony and why that word means this, you know. So it was, I it was like it sucked because everything the prosecutor side's like translator did, it was always like some kind of statement or message that like went against me. So I
Uh,
was like, what the hell, man? This side is real like one sided, you know? So
yeah.
I didn't want to say anything on the internet while I was on bail where the prosecution could find it and then try to say I said this and when that's not really what I said. So I didn't say anything during the first bail and try to clear my name at the time.
Yeah.
I kind of like quietly opened my business back up and like just was doing sales and stuff with just people that knew the truth that like were already buying from me that already knew what happened so they had confidence in buying through me. And then I got sent away again and I was like, dude, I got guilty, man, like convicted. Now who the hell is gonna believe what I'm saying that I didn't do it when I'm convicted? That's gonna be a hard one to sell. So the second time I got out on bail, the case wasn't over yet. I didn't want to say anything again because now it's kind of different because I'm technically convicted. I didn't want to like go over there and start saying that's not true, that's not true, because it's hard to sell when you're convicted. You know, that conviction is really strong in people's eyes. You know,
Yeah. Were you treated
so
were you treated differently in Japan? Like by
yeah, like
people? Like do you have kind of like a
um, well, like the thing was that the people that are close to me knew the truth. Like my wife and my family talked to a lot of people that I did business with, or my where I was renting the garage, the owner there knew the story and stuff like that. But like the people that weren't directly related to me is where I noticed a difference in the way they treated me. Like my neighbors, like at my shop, there was like this weird, vibe with them when I got bail. Like even the first one when I wasn't convicted yet, but the fact that the arrest just changes the image, they
yeah,
just think you're bad, So and like even like a few companies that I was buying parts through, the owners and stuff I'm friends with and we're close and they know the story, but their staff is not close with me. So I was still buying parts through like some of the companies, but I couldn't go there myself and pick it up. I would have to send somebody because they would just like, I don't know, that I don't want to like deal with like the drama or like, like the fact that, that image is on you right now, like the staff and everybody might start talking and it just might not be good. So like I always have to send people like to pick anything up, I couldn't do it myself because of that image at the time. So I was like, well, this sucks. Well, if I get convicted and stay convicted, it's gonna be real shit because now that image on me is gonna be real strong. So that's another reason why I didn't want to give up either, because I know once you're convicted in Japan, it's real hard to like live. Like you can't even own a business like legally if you're a convicted felon for like 5 years. So
oh, so that would have like ruined your life over there pretty much.
yeah, yeah. So I was like, it's hard to make like bank accounts. It's hard to like get a phone. It's like hard to do anything once you're convicted. That's another reason why I was stubborn and didn't want to quit, and I wanted to just fight it and wait and just fight to the end.
Yeah.
or it was either that, or if I fought all I could and got convicted and I couldn't really live the life I wanted here, I was probably gonna go back to America or something. That was kind of like was in my head at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah. So when I got out on bail, it was just always weird. Like people treated me weird, or it was just I don't know. Like a lot of the foreigners, they didn't because I guess it's like when you're like an American, someone gets arrested or whatnot. It's not such. It is like a it is a big deal, but not as
Yeah.
what was it?
I said it,
Yeah, but I guess
yeah, like it's if you're if you're getting arrested for like I don't know. I used to sell weed, so
yeah. So like in America, if you get busted for weed, not anyone cares. It's such a normal thing. Even now it's like legal in how many states. But in
yeah,
Japan, they think weed is the equivalent to like cocaine or crack or something. So the stigma and all that for Japanese people, it's like you went to prison or jail for weed. Holy shit, you're a bad person. Blah 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 and all this stuff. And the fact that I was in there for that long, they just knew like the case was probably way worse than just normal because like who the hell is going through a trial for years?
yeah,
And people that don't really know the justice system in Japan, like they don't know that if you don't, plead guilty, you're stuck there for a long time, you know. So the
yeah.
fact that I'm in there,
I guess you probably don't really like learn much about the justice system in Japan unless you're a part of it, right? Like the
yeah,
probably not common knowledge over there, even with you know native Japanese people.
yeah, like a lot of people don't really need to learn the law, especially if they're not doing anything bad. There's no need to. So they don't. They just watch the news and they just hear, oh my god, these people got busted for so and so, and then that image is just stuck on them. Like, oh,
Yeah,
that person's a piece of shit. Like let's just not be anywhere around him and stuff like that. So yeah, when I got out, it was kind of hard. I was just like, man, if this doesn't change, it'd be pretty shit to be here now. So like, that's yeah. So I fought that, and then when I finally got the not guilty verdict, that's when everyone was like, holy crap. Then everyone felt bad for me because okay, I didn't do it, and I beat a freaking you know a,
yeah. Your
a
point.
court system
Yeah,
with 99% conviction rate. So to beat a freaking justice system with a 99% conviction rate, it legit means you did not do it. If you even kind of look like you did it, you would not get a not guilty verdict in Japan. No way in hell. So, Japanese people kind of know that the system is like that. Like they kind of know that once you get convicted, you're just, there's no way you can overturn that. But the fact that I did is like a huge thing. Like when people get a not guilty verdict in the first trial, even like it's even on the news. Oh, someone got a not guilty verdict for some kind of stupid crime. But the fact of getting the not guilty verdict in any case in Japan is already super hard. So anybody that gets it, it's always on the news in Japan because it's a huge thing because it's something that doesn't normally happen in Japan.
do you have like newspaper stuff from your?
Yeah,
Did you keep it all?
yeah. Well, I screenshot it all. It's all like on the net news and shit, and so like when I first got arrested, though, I was like on the TV and shit, and like the news saying like, "Oh, these people freaking, imported all this freaking weed and like weed oil and all this crap," and it was like all over the news with my name. I didn't have my face because they didn't take any like the mug shots or anything, but they pretty much like put my name out there and made me look like a total piece of shit. And when I first got arrested, it was like I have like how many clippings of like those newspapers and shit. And then but then when I got convicted, there was no news because it was just like whatever. But then when I got the not guilty is when like news reporters would contact my lawyers, and I'd go and sit and have an interview with them and tell them what I went through and how this all happened, and that would be on the news and stuff like that because I got the not guilty verdict.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Are you like way more cautious about doing anything or being around anything illegal?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was like, dude, I beat it once and I don't want to go through it again because the chance of beating it again is just way too hard. And the process is way too long and I don't want to deal with any of that. So especially like drug shit, I don't want to be around that in Japan because they already, anything drug related in Japan just looks a lot worse in people's eyes here. So I'm not really around any of that crap anymore.
Yeah, it's probably smart.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's why it's like because even when I got out of Japan or when I got out of like prison and jail in Japan, like at that time people like companies were making like CBD stuff that was like almost like THC and smoking it on the street and like it was legal.
I
But
saw
then like
I was there. I was like, what?
yeah, yeah. And then even like the government cracked on that and made that illegal. So, it's real bad. Like they just do not want anything cannabis related being legal in Japan. So even if it looks legal or not, I'm just like, nah, I don't even smoke or anything anymore. I was smoking when I got arrested, but it was funny because like when I got arrested, I didn't smoke for months. So like they thought they're gonna get me with like the freaking failed drug test and all this crap. Like those freaking detectives and prosecutors were like out to get me. So like they like searched my house, searched like company and everything, and then they freaking piss tested me, thinking that I'm gonna fail, and then dude, I like passed it all. It's like, dude, I don't even smoke right now. Like, what the hell, man? Like, it's like, dude, if I was a hardcore smoker, I would have failed that test and would have been involved in that crap,
Yeah, I was lucky.
Yeah, yeah.
Lucky. Do you think like do you think they were extra tough on you because of any of the like drifting stuff, or like was that not even a
Mm, not really, because like when it when the arrest part happened, I wasn't street drifting anymore.
hmm,
So like I was just doing the stuff on the circuit and doing like drift events and stuff like that. So there was nothing really on my feed or anything to do with street drifting much because years before that it kind of just died the scene, so I wasn't really doing much of that part anyway. So yeah.
yeah, good timing.
Yeah, yeah. They would have just been like, "Oh, look at all these videos on my phone with street drifting and stuff," but I wasn't doing it anymore. So none
Yeah.
of that really came up during that time.
Oh, that's really lucky. Uh,
Yeah.
let's talk about driving. Um, your
Yeah.
your driver progression in Japan. I mean, I feel like anybody who goes to Japan and drives like in the Kansai area, like just like if you have the natural talent, like you will progress really, really quickly. Like what's been like your inspiration? How do you like push? Like how do you keep like chasing that like aggressive driving style? And what was it like taking a 3-year break and then having to like come back?
Oh yeah, that. Well, it's funny because like when I was in jail, I you're allowed to buy magazines in there, and Drift Tengoku was one of them.
What?
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Uh,
you can buy that in there. So like, I would buy like at first I was buying it every month, and it got to a point where it was too hard to watch to look at. So I
uh,
stopped buying it for a little bit. So I was like, because like it wasn't just drifting; it was people I knew on the magazine, like Naoki, Casey, and like all these people. So like so I mean, buying those magazines and watching what everyone's doing, I'm like, dude, this sucks, man. I can't even drive right now. So, like, I would watch, like, I would read all like the freaking Drift Tengoku, see Naoki winning all the D1 crap, and everything. I was like, damn, man. Oh, now he's driving an 8.6 and D1 and stuff. I had no clue he was driving 8.6 and stuff like that. Like that BRZ thing he's driving right now. And so I was reading that, and then I'll like people that I used to drive with, like getting like Formula D license or like D1 license and stuff like that. People that I used to drive with that none of us had like license. And my goal when I got here was always to get like a D1 license. that was one of the goals, and the fact that I was stuck in jail and people that I used to drive with were doing what I wanted, and driving those events and stuff. I was just like, this sucks. And then when I right before I got arrested is when I finally built like a proper car. I never really had like a built engine in Japan. Like I was always like driving with 300 something horsepower, and finally like half a year before my arrest, I finally built something that had like over 500 horsepower. So I was still kind of getting used to like that setup. So I wasn't like that good at driving that setup yet. And then I got arrested, and then I had no clue. I had none of my cars, and then I got out and I had nothing. I was like, damn, I can't even drift. So
Happened to the cars? Like, did they get sold to help fund like your bail, or was it just like,
no, I just kind of got sold off, and I don't really know what happened to the money. So I mean, one of the guys sold all my stuff, and it was like way too cheap. Like one of the dudes that worked for me, I had a VET, like a 2.2 fully built like VET. It was ready to go my main car. My main car at the time was my 180. And so my 180, the purple one with all the freaking vinyl and all that stuff, that got sold with the VET engine and the stock engine that was in that car and my S14. That all got sold off for like 15 grand, all of it, when the engine alone was like 20 grand, you know? So I didn't know any of that when I was in there. And then I get out and I asked my wife, like, where did everything go? Where did my 2-car carrier truck, my S15, where did it all go? Because I had no idea when I was in jail. And then so my wife explained to me, like, because my wife's not really into cars, so she doesn't really know the value of everything. So she had one of the dudes that was working with me at my old company, JDL, just do whatever because she didn't have any say because she didn't really know the value of certain things. So he just sold it all off. And yeah, when I heard the price, I knew who bought it because the person who bought a lot of it was Rohab. So he hit me up. He's like, "Yo, dude, just to let you know, I don't want any hard feelings, but yeah, I bought like a lot of the stuff that was for sale at the time." And then he kind of just sold it or used it or whatnot. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. You're not really in the wrong for buying anything. It's not like he stole it or anything. So I didn't really have any hard feelings against him. But when I heard the price, I was just like, holy crap, dude. Like, damn, like that sucks. And then my S15 got sold. I got my S15 back though when I got out the second time. And yeah, just like all my cars. I used to have a 2-car carrier, like the truck, this, so that was gone as well. So I was like, dude, I have nothing that's like car related anymore. So that was pretty harsh. So the first time I got bail, I really wanted to drive because not just drip, but I didn't drive a car, period, for like over a year. And I was like, this sucks, man. I want to just drive. And then I'm really good friends with, Akiba Ryusei, the D1 driver. He's from Yokohama. Team Reverse, dude. He's driving Drift Masters now. But
yeah,
I used to, back when I used to street all the time, I used to I used to put my car in the truck and go to Daikoku and like go to Yokohama and do streeting stuff with him, So me and him were real close. So when I got out, he felt really bad. And at that time, he had his like spare S15 at Naoki's. And he's like, if you just want to drive, just use that car. It's over there. If you want to drive and stuff. So I was like, sick. And that car was pretty set up too. It was similar to the S15 I lost at the time. It was like TD06, 2.1 liter SR, had like a sequential like HKS box in it. So I was like, sick, I get to drive. And I picked that up. I drifted like a couple of times. It wasn't, I don't know, it broke a couple of times. So I didn't really get a whole lot of seat time in it, but it was good to just drive something, after not driving anything for a while. And then I got sent away again. And then this time I wasn't driving again for like another year and a half. So I came out and I was like, no, like I need like one of my cars back or something. So I got my I got my S15 back because that was like a weird like fail. It wasn't really a sale. It was more like a collateral type of thing. I don't know. it got real messy. Too much details, but it was like it wasn't really a sale, so I ended up getting my S15 back. And when I lost my S15, I just had new aero on it, just painted, just put the livery on and everything. And then I drove one time, and then I got sent away. So when I got the car back, it wasn't purple anymore. The livery was gone. Some of the setup was a bit changed. So I was like, okay, well, I got my car back, but there's no way in hell I want to drive it. Like with this, it was like gunmetal or something. And I didn't want to drive it that color. So the second I picked it up, I didn't even take it home. I at first uh, it was Naoki that originally painted it purple. So I asked him if he could just paint it right away, just so I could drive it again, because I didn't want to drive it without it being, that color. But he was doing drift masters at the time and was leaving to Europe, and he was like, "Oh, I can't paint it, but ask this other guy, Tomo. He actually used to paint for an Aoki at his shop, so he went off on his own and started his own shop. So he's like, "Oh, just go ask Tomo to do it." So I had Tomo,
Is he the dude with
you know, the what?
Doesn't he have a lowrider?
Yeah. Tomo, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Like the team blow dudes. It was kind of like team blow, team burst at the time.
Yeah,
So he picked. So I dropped it off at his place. Origin gave me like all the new arrow for it. I think it was a Raijin kit at the time when they first came out with that. So I put all that arrow back on and got it painted, and then took it to Taka's, and he did all the stickers for it. And then finally I took it out and drifted it. And then so I've been driving that car like over 3 years, and finally got to drive it again. And yeah, I wasn't that good at the time, but since I was reading Drift Tengoku and stuff the whole time, like I wanted to like just watching everybody how they're doing. I already knew that I was getting left behind, so I was like, nah, I don't have any time to stick around. I'm just gonna just drive hard right from the gate. So like the way I drive my car now compared to when I first built it, I drive the car now way better. Like way more used to it. I push my limits a lot harder than if I didn't get arrested, because the pressure on me to have to catch up to what everybody else was doing while I was away. So that's why, I mean, I crashed a few times when I was doing it, but just there's a lot of pressure on me, like, damn, everyone's doing like FDJ or like, winning console all stars, and this sucks, like I need to start again from scratch. And so I just pushed really freaking hard when I came back out.
Yeah, I can't imagine like watching somebody like Casey just
Yeah,
skill
dude.
the roof in like a couple
Yeah.
like, and you're just I couldn't imagine. You're like, you can't do anything about it. You're like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Casey was one of them, man. When I saw him on the cover of Dota 10, I was like, damn, this fool just won console. I was like, shit, man, I'm just stuck in here. Damn, this sucks. I was like, damn, because Casey's doing hella good. Even Jordy and like, everyone that I used to drive on the street or like just stick around with. When I first moved here, everyone was getting really good, like really fast, during that period. So I was like, damn, I'm doing zero driving. So when I came out, I just had to just push super, super hard to like get back to that level.
yeah.
So yeah.
So what's the goal?
That's what kind of the goal right now. Well, I got out in 2000, was it 23, the end of it, like toward the end of it. And I got the not guilty verdict not last year, but was it last year? Yeah, in September. So I got out in May. I got my car back, my S15 back in June, and I finally first drove it in like July. And then right after I got the not guilty verdict, I did D1 divisional. That's like the entry kind of level competition to get a D1 license, and you have to get like, I think like top. I believe it was top like 10 in the whole series to get a D1 license. So I was doing that series. I think I only did that comp like 3 times last year out of the whole year, and I got podium I think like twice. So like that's why I was already like ranked like like I think I was ranked like 8th or something like the whole series when I just started, like when I only did that event like a couple times. So when I first got out, I just drove like as much as I could and tried to like push myself, get to that level. And then I didn't do so many comps before that, but watching everyone do really well in comps while I was away just kind of pushed me to kind of do the same. So that's why when got out, I just try to do comps only mainly just to see where I was at, like skill level wise compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I pushed myself, did D1 divisional, and then got ranked like eighth or something in the whole series, and that's why I got like the lights license.
Yeah. So
But
the goal is to just climb your way through. Like you trying to do.
yeah, yeah. So pretty much I got So like I do technically I could drive D1 lights this year, but the only problem is that this car behind me I can't use because I don't know, the regulations real like strict for D1 lights. Like in D1 GP, you could cut the back end off and two frame it and do whatever you want, and then you can use it. But in D1 lights, you have to have the back panel like factory. Like that's the reason why Casey as well couldn't use his F13 because his back end was cut off, and they don't allow that in D1 lights.
And
So
back off because you had crashed it and repaired it.
yeah, so when I first came out, the back end was still normal. But then I went to Mahon, and then, dude, it just wrecked the crap out of it. I went to Okuibu, he smashed into the wall super hard, just riding the walls. And then I was like, dude, I kept trying to like pull the freaking body back out, but it got to the point where it's just too freaking bent and too retarded. I was like, nah, I'm just gonna cut it all off. And at the time, I wasn't thinking that, that needed to be on there for the car to be used during D1 lights. So I just cut it all off and then just like pretty much like the whole back end is cut off and it's just covered with tail lamps and freaking the boot and the bumper. And then when I got the right to drive in D1 lights, like Casey's like, oh, you can't use that car either. And I was just like, oh crap, dude, is that why you don't do it? And he's like, yeah, dude, that's why I don't do it because I can't drive this car. And I was like, well, that sucks. So yeah, now that I am able to drive it now, well, the problem was that I didn't want to drive any other chassis than the S15. So, and also to drive a certain car in that series, you need like the paperwork and you need to pass the regulation and stuff. And I lost the paperwork for that car like years ago, and the back end was cut off. So I was like, great, I have to like build another car, and then to find another chassis to use that had paperwork and stuff. It was like non-existent in Japan. Everybody would have an S15, but they'd either have no papers or the back end was smashed and cut off or something. I couldn't use it. It took a while to finally find a shell. Naoki found me a shell with papers. So I bought that. Just sitting in my yard right now. I have to build it now. So once I build that, and I was just gonna like fully pretty much put the engine in this and all that into the new show, but I was like, what's the point of doing that when I could just rebuild a whole brand new car? And I kind of want to jump back into building like another VET setup again because I did have it. It was about to go into my 180 and I lost it. And I kind of want to finish that unfinished goal. So I want to build another VET engine, build it right, build it, really competitively, and then put it into that new chassis.
I was
And
gonna.
use that for D1 lights.
That sounds like a good plan.
Fuel Lab, you pimps and players.
Fuel Lab is the best way to fuel your passion for drifting. It's the best way to fuel your fire. It's the best way to fuel your life force, It's the best way to pump liquid gold into your life. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Fuel Lab, baby. They make pumps. They make all kinds of shit. If you need a fuel system for your rig, if you need a fuel system for your unit, check out Fuel Lab. Fuel Lab makes good stuff. I have it in my car. Code Goodest, 15% off. Fuel Lab. Go get some fuel pumps and shit. I was gonna say, like, you just moved into a new shop that looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like, are you, I mean, obviously, like, you're grinding really hard. Like, if you're driving a lot and you're like running a business and it's a successful business and you're making money, like, you're probably working your ass off. How does that, like, how do you make time to, like, are you doing all the work on your cars? Like, are you like Just like having people do stuff while you grow your business? Like, how do you make it work?
Well, a, pretty much a bit of everything. Here, well, there's like 4 people here working. They're actually out doing errands right now. But my cousin, another guy named Jesse works here, and another guy named Kevin was here, but he literally just went back to Cali like a week ago, like a week and a half ago. So it was mainly us, and then my other friend that helps me run this business. He runs a business in Hawaii building cars, and he's like, freaking ace mechanic, like does, build cars for like Super Street magazine type of stuff. So his builds are super nice. So he helped me build this car like real quick just to like get me back into driving. And so he comes to Japan like every few months, and he was there at the Thrash event, helping with my car, our other customers' cars and stuff like that. So he comes here and does a lot of like the actual mechanical stuff, the real like complicated stuff. Like myself and Jesse, we could like do pretty much everything else, but like the real like wire tucking, like harness stuff, like all that kind of stuff. Like my other guy, Barry, that's in Hawaii, that comes every month, does all that stuff. So, like business wise, because I sell parts, sell cars, do the drift rentals, and also cater to the guys that want to drive in Japan. So, yeah, I'm pretty much stuck at the shop more than I am anywhere else, you could say. So, like, I'm here, like, I swear to God, like 15 hours a day sometimes, like trying to get parts out, trying to get orders in, work on my own cars and my own, like the rental cars, and sending cars to the port, sending parts out, picking up parts. It's real freaking chaos over here. But everybody that's here now, they pretty much all know their roles. So everybody kind of just like puts in the effort, does what needs to get done, and it's starting to go a lot smoothly now. The old shop was real small, and like I said, like the neighbors over there, they like after I got the not guilty, they're real cool and real nice to me and everything. Like the vibe felt all right, but it was real small, and like these cars obviously are loud as hell. And I also had like a freaking like a nursing home like next door, so I couldn't really do a lot. Like it was like one building with like 3 different companies in that same building, and only one like actual like parking lot and exit. And I was like stuck in the middle. So I couldn't really do a lot of things outside. Like I couldn't wrench on a car outside when like the inside was like being taken up. So the process was like real slow to do things because the spaces were limited. So after we moved here, it felt like we could actually breathe, you could say. Yeah. So now, like the old spot, I can only put like 3 cars inside. Now I can put like 10 cars in here now. And the whole parking lot, I was just doing like donuts and doing dumb shit in the parking lot. Yesterday my S15 because there's like all this space outside and there's like no neighbors, there's nothing here. So it's real easy to do anything I want here. So now that we're in the new spot, it should, like pretty much all the orders and all the things we wanted to do, it should run a lot smoother than it did before. But we still somehow got it all done, even with the old spot. But it was just like real, like a lot of time and stuff wasted, and you have to use a lot of energy and get things done.
Yeah.
Like for example, like the Thrash event, we had how many customers come that time? We had a lot. We had, I think like most of these cars that are in here was at Thrash. Like we had like 8 people. We had like 9 to 10 cars. We had to take the Thrash event. So we had 2 trucks at the time. Like we borrowed another one from our friend. And so we pretty much bought like, I would say like 8 cars for people to drive here. And I also rented another car to another Spain driver that wanted to drive Thrash. So we had to truck like 9-10 cars to freaking Bihoku that day. So that 2 weeks was like harsh. Like had there literally no time to do anything else. Like had to prep the cars, like even Thrash, and like like I'm pretty sure you guys were at Thrash and it was freaking hectic, yeah. Like everyone trying to do the drift prep, everyone trying to do vinyl and all that stuff. So we're pretty much in the same situation, all just doing a bunch of prep. And yeah, we had to go to Bioku like 4 trips just to get the cars there. And then we had Chase from Chase Base out here too, doing his stuff. And he was driving, but unfortunately his engine blew like the day before the thrash event when we were at Bioku. So
He offered me to drive the car, and I was like, "All right, like I'm in." And we got there, and he's like, "I blew the motor yesterday. I'm sorry." And I was like, "Don't apologize to me. That's terrible."
yeah. Yeah.
Happens though.
Yeah. Yeah, because he came here a little bit earlier than the rest of the other Americans that were like out here. Oh my god, what is this bug flying around me? 1 second, there's like weird bugs around here, man. Yeah, so
Japanese bugs don't play, dude. They're huge.
dude, they don't.
They're like prehistoric.
Yeah, so yeah, Chase wanted to drive with like Naoki and stuff like that, like a private day. So I set that up before the thrash event.
That looks sick.
So
I was really
yeah. So I invited Naoki out. He came out in a spare car, and it was me, Chase, Naoki, and like a couple other dudes. We just went out to Bioku. We were originally supposed to go to TKL, but then Naoki gets there and he's like, "Dude, we can't drive to it's bike day." We're like, "Dude, what the hell? Man, we drove all the way out here and you can't drive it, brick." And then Bioku was like another 2 hours away, and it was still the morning. I didn't want to let Chase down, so I was like, "All right, we're just gonna like haul ass to Bioku and so he gets some driving done." So he went there, took his car out, and we just changed like his clutch and stuff to like an ORC because we changed his the first trip he came here, which was in January for like Tokyo Auto Salon. Chase was out here. He bought the S15. It was like, oh no, it was still on that tune, like the old tune, and it was on like that R33 Nagao Techno box. We had like a Nismo clutch in it, but he wanted to change the ORC just because the clutch was slipping the first trip. So he changed the clutch. Well, we didn't upgrade any of like the back end, like the drive shaft or axles or the diff. So he just started blowing the axles and shit right away in the first time. So we're like, oh damn, yeah, these stock ones are gonna hold up with that freaking aggressive clutch in there. So we put like D-Max shafts in, and we're like, all right, it should be like, good to go. So we took it again to Bioku, and that's when the engine took a crap. And I was like, damn, the day before the thrash event. So that was real unfortunate. And then some other guys, they're mainly from like Alabama, Texas, North Carolina and stuff, South Carolina and stuff like that. So like that side of America. So they bought a bunch of cars. They're all friends of Chase. So they bought a bunch of cars through us. So they wanted to legit stay at Bioku for like 4 days or something. So I had to talk to the Bioku owner to see. Yeah. So it was funny because like all the cars survived like 4 days of driving over there. All of it could still drive even right now. So it was really great that, those guys came to experience that Japanese drifting with zero issues. So they came all the way out here. They drove more than anyone that weekend. They stayed at Bioku from like Friday to like Monday. Dude, we dropped their cars off Friday. We left the cars there. I talked to the Bioku guy if we can just leave it there for the thrash event. So he's like, sure. So we left it there Friday. They stayed close by, did the thrash event, drove again Sunday, drove again Monday. And then finally we picked up the cars and did like a bunch of trips with the trucks and like brought all the cars back to the shop. But yeah, that week was like real crazy, especially trying to work like out of that small shop. Like they all came, wanted to work on their cars, do their own little like adjustments to how they want to drive or how they want the cars to look, changing air and stuff. And we're in this tiny freaking car park, blocking all the other neighbors, and they were getting super pissed off. They're like, dude, you're like all in the way. Why are these guys working on the cars when we have to like, use this spot or whatever? And that just like, I was real over that. I was like, okay, well, it kind of sucks if I want to do this and, provide like a place for people to be able to work on their own cars here. Because, when you're live in a foreign country and want to drive in Japan, like the resources is like so limited. that's how like I had to deal with when I first came here. Like you don't have resources for like a truck, a garage, like tire machine and stuff. And I kind of wanted to provide that here for foreigners. And to do that at a spot like that was like crap because it's like it was real crap because the neighbors would kind of complain in Japanese, but just the vibe, they, even though they didn't understand the language, I'm pretty sure they're like, oh wait, I think I'm in the way. So I was like, yeah, it kind of sucks. So that's why I pushed real hard to move out of there. So now I'm at a spot where anyone can just do whatever over here. So, I can't wait for the next like thrash event or any other time when all these foreigners that have cars here come back because it's like gonna feel a lot more free.
Yeah, that's way better.
Yeah.
Man.
So when you come back, you're gonna come by, drift over here and do some donuts in the cars out in the parking lot as well.
I'm down. That sounds honestly amazing. I need to drive in Japan. I talk about it all the time. I've gotten to do like laps, but I haven't. Like I got to drive. I got to do like my friend Julio let me do like 10 laps in his S15 at Bihoku.
Oh, okay.
So I got to drive
on the thrash day.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Julio's sick, man. I've been talking to him for a bit too.
He's good people.
Yeah. Is he close to you? Because he's more like in Washington side, right? Yeah. Because you're out in NorCal?
Yeah, I actually just moved to SoCal for a bit.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know where I'll end up next, but I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I do need to come to Japan. I do need to drive there. I just need to like figure out how to make it make sense. Pretty much what I saw, my experience is like everybody who had like pretty much a stock-ish car got to do a ton of laps, and everybody who like tried to go crazy in like a short time like had a little bit more trouble.
Oh yeah. Because then a few guys that bought like it looked like proper cars like ended up just not driving because they like blew shit up.
Yeah. I'll probably try and like keep it simple, I think, as much as I can.
Oh yeah. Well, how do you like the right hand, left hand drive thing?
I'm getting a lot better at it. I used to be kind of trash, and now I can jump in right hand drive, and it's not like super weird. Like I can tandem, and I can like do like okay entries, but like I don't know. When I first started, there was like such a huge delay. Like I had to think about what I was doing a lot, but I just flipped my Assetto rig to like the other
right hand.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did that for like 2 years or something, and so now it's better, but it's still not like 100%. I'm probably like 70% right hand drive. I don't know. What about you? Have you like Hawaii?
Oh, yeah. I had to do that converting crap as well. Like, yeah, because I didn't. To me, I was like, what could be so different? It's just like you're sitting on the opposite side, and then I got my 180, and I was just like, what the hell? Like everything I remembered how to do is just now it's all gone because it's like where your hands go, like the movement of your body in certain like situations, like it's all gonna be flipped.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first got my 180, that was I had a hard time trying to convert to that right hand drive, and what made it harder was that I wasn't driving like a wide track or like something that's like safe, like to get used to. Like the first place I went was like a 1-lane tollgate. I was like, dude, how am I gonna get used to this? Yeah. So like when Hito them took me there, like, cause Hito's been watching my, Instagram, like me driving home, and he was like, damn, you're pretty good. Let's drive together. And I was like, yeah, I can't wait. And then he finds me a car, and I couldn't drive for crap. And like the road is like 1 lane wide, and he's just like boom, boom, like hella aggressive, like fast as hell. And I couldn't even keep up at all. And I was like, okay, well, all right, okay. This place is already hard to begin with, but dude, I can't drive this right hand drive that good. Like, so it took probably like a lot longer than some people who convert because like the courses and stuff I had to like was forced to drive in right hand drive was like I couldn't just push it and just try. it was like either push and just write my whole car off, or I would just have to like slowly like kind of get used to it. So I did like some hills right hand drive, and then I did the port, and then finally I went to the track. I think the first freaking circuit I did was the first circuit I did was Bihoku, and that was a mess because I went to like one of those kind of like car show, half drift type of events where so like the main Bihoku course was like a car show, and the smaller section, the
Oh,
smaller A
interesting.
course, yeah, was like the drift side. So I drift the first circuit I ever drifted was there. And then that was a little bit more narrow, but I did some hills already, so I was kind of getting used to it. And I finally put knuckles on the car, so it was like first time doing circuit and the first time ever driving with knuckles. 'Cause in Hawaii, I didn't have knuckles really, so I did that, and then I was like, "Frick, that sucks! I didn't get to drive like the main course." So the next week, I was like, "I want to go drive the main course this time," and then I was just too overconfident, trying to throw like the freaking normal Bihoku entries, and the freaking side brake gets stuck up, and I go into the wall and roll the whole car, total the whole car, and I was like, damn. I was like, frick, that sucks. And at the time, I went to Bihoku like alone. I just like drove out there, and then I knew like a couple guys driving that day, so I was like, oh, cool, I'll just drive with them. And then like not even 10 laps in, I rolled the car, and I didn't have a truck. I didn't really know anybody with a truck. And luckily I knew one of like the D1 drivers. Name was Kawakami. He used to drive D1 GP, real old school, like older dude that probably drifted when I was born. And he was like, oh, well, I have a truck, but he had his own D1 car on it. And he was like, well, I can't like take it anywhere now, but I can leave it here and I can come back and get it. And I think that week was like D1 street legal at Bihoku. So I remember when I was driving, I probably was more overconfident because like there's all these D1 street legal dudes like doing sick ass runs, and I was like, damn, I want to drive like that. And then I rolled it, made a fool out of myself.
Uh,
And after yeah. And then after D1 street legal ended, that D1 driver was watching street legal. So he said, oh, just come to street legal on the last day, and then we can take your car like to my shop. So I took my car on his truck to his shop in like Kobe side, like Akashi, like kind of far from where I was staying. So my mom lived in Shiga, so I was like 2 hours away. And he's like, "Oh, you could like part out here, or whatever." And then so I took all the parts. I took the engine off, and then he junked the shell because it was like full smashed. And then I had to go back because this is before I had moved here. So I went back to Hawaii, and then he was like, "Oh, you can just store all your stuff here until you find like another shell or something." And then he found another 180. This is back then when 180s and Cilias were still cheap as hell. So
yeah.
he found like a full 180, like already running one for like, it was like 3 grand. I was like, damn, that's hella cheap. And then so I bought that and then reshelled into that. And then I got that car ready. I visited again a couple times, drove that. And then that's when I was just like, nah, F that. F away. I'm just going to come live in Japan and drift. So yeah.
Yeah, that's such a crazy, like, I don't know. Do you think that you would have ever moved to Japan if it weren't for drifting?
Mm, like when I was a kid, before I was actually into car, like the actual car stuff, I did like Japan. Like I always liked visit. Every time I visited, like every like couple times here when I was a kid, I always liked it here. Like, and when I was a kid, I always knew how to speak Japanese. But when I lived in Hawaii and I didn't come to Japan for a while after my mom moved, I didn't speak Japanese in Hawaii. So I came back like kind of forgot a lot of the words, and I was like, damn, this sucks again. And like I wasn't so like after I kind of forgot to speak Japanese and it was real hard, I didn't really like think of moving here like fully. I was like, Dad, what am I doing for work? Like, I can't really work if you can't speak it. It's really freaking hard. But then I got too much into drifting, and I was like, nah, if that doesn't really matter if I can't speak that good, I'll learn it when I live there again. So I'll come back. And then, yeah, so that's pretty much what happened. But I mean, Japan's fun, but if it wasn't really in for drifting, I probably wouldn't be here. Like, if it wasn't for cars, anyways, like, if I didn't have my business or anything related to cars, I'd probably just go back to the States and maybe do something there. But for cars, this place is legit the place to be. Just the amount of driving you can do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you're trying to push your driving, that's the place to be.
Yeah.
1000%.
Because like even in the States, you can't just rock up to a circuit and drift every day, right?
You can in SoCal, and there's like other places where you can do it. Um, like you can get like a yearly pass for Range, or now called Apple Valley Speedway, and like you can go on any like non-event day and just drive. Um, you like
Oh, you
pay,
could drift every day there. So it's
yeah,
open
it's
to the
not
public
the spring,
daily.
but only for like the skid pad. It's called Balcony, and then
Oh,
yeah, ABS you can go drive ABS any day of the week if there's no private event.
oh, okay, okay.
Good testing to them.
Oh,
So you
that's cool
can
then.
pay, or it's like you can get a yearly membership, which
Oh, okay.
is pretty sick.
Damn. Yeah, well, like I don't know. Every time I talk to anybody from like somewhere else, like Australia or the States, they're always like,
Yeah, it's not
dude,
like
you
that.
can't just like, yeah, you can't just like rock up to some track and drift. Like that sucks. Like
Yeah,
so used to just like going anywhere to drive.
I think like because in America, like you can sue people a lot easier. And like if you get hurt or whatever,
Oh,
like, there's like a lot more liability involved with everything in the US. So
oh,
it's
true.
annoying because I, yeah, that's dumb.
Oh, that sucks then.
That's kind of one of the cool parts about Japan. I guess like there's pros and cons to everywhere, but yeah, that's like one of the things. If you live, I don't know, yeah, if you live in like a place where I guess like a lot of the US is like that now. Like I feel like some parts of the states are pretty lax, and yeah, but yeah, like track days and like track stuff, especially drifting. I think it's still like it's because drifting's not like completely accepted yet. Like we're really close. We're the closest we've ever been, but it's not like
Yeah.
it's kind of like a secondary thing that they're just like, oh yeah, just get the drifters in there. Like they help pay the rent for the track, if you give them a couple events a month or whatever kind of thing. Like that's how it's looked at. It's not like, oh yeah, like these are like ABS is a drift track. Like that's what they do like 99% of the time. And sometimes people rent it for like those like stand on scooter races and like all kinds of weird shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like if you check the schedule, like,
Yeah.
sometimes there's just like weird stuff. But
Oh, true. Wait, that's the place that used to be called Grange.
yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah,
Oh, true.
yeah. Like where Naoki came and all them.
Destroyed everybody in a stock SR.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that place looks super fun to drive, and it's like pretty narrow, right? Like I don't
They,
know. I was
so
talking to.
they widened it.
Oh, they widened it.
Yeah. Since Naoki drove it, they widened it.
Oh, so when he drove it, it was still like kind of narrow then.
Yeah. Back then it was sketchy. It was crazy. It would be like the turn one, if you like did turn one well, like it was really impressive because it was like, I don't know, maybe like a car length plus like, I don't know, it must have been like 20 feet wide. Like the track was like 20 feet wide in turn one. So like a car is probably
Oh,
like 15 feet long. So you have like
yeah,
4 or 5 feet
five,
direction.
yeah.
You're like blasting the front straight. Like that's what was really impressive to everybody, I think. And so
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looked like something was different about it when I see videos of that place now. I'm like, I don't know. It seemed like nobody could do like a backy there and like actually hold it, but now everyone could kind of like eat the outside and go like kind of like Mayhan. I guess you could kind of eat the outside and go in.
yeah,
So like
they
I
did.
was like, why couldn't anyone do that back then? And then I realized that something looked different.
Yeah, they changed it. I think like 4 years ago.
Oh, okay. Like so right after Naoki's
Yeah,
over then.
yeah, after the second time he came, and so like it's definitely different, but it's also like I don't know. It's fun in a different way now. Like you can carry a lot more speed and still like make it. It's like,
Oh yeah.
and now they're like piling tires against the wall, like up towards the edge of the track. So now it's really sketchy because if you like go off, like you're gonna roll, like because it's when they like stack tires and like
It just like sucks the car in and just like
yeah,
kind of like how Bioko is on that first corner.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm surprised Julian didn't roll that like 1,000 horsepower car when he went into the tires. I was like, holy crap! And I was like, oh, that was a pretty sick video when I watched that the other day.
That was wild. Yeah, it's nice to see somebody jump in some fucking like American pro car and just yeah, he put B knuckle on it. Like he took that car to his house as soon as he got it.
Oh,
He called me. He's like, dude, the racks moved forward hella far, like because it's got to clear all these things, and so I'm trying to figure out how to get it like the rack back to where it's supposed to be, so like the car actually like feels good and with B knuckle. And I'm just like, yeah. So he put it's like a FD Pro car with B knuckle.
oh, what was on it before? Like Wise Fab or something?
I think it was a Part Shop Max kit because it's what
Oh,
which is decent stuff, but like yeah, it's different. It just drives different.
yeah. Oh, so whose car was that? That was Matt's.
That's Matt Field's old Pro FD car.
Oh, that's the car. Okay, I couldn't recognize what it was actually because it had like the S15 back end, and so that was like that 14 he used to drive
Yeah,
in FD then
yeah,
before the vet.
yeah,
Oh, so, damn. Okay, true.
yeah. It makes
That,
it
that that looks sick though.
11.
Did Matt end up trying to drive that car with the B knuckle after and all?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Oh, he's probably like, damn, I should have done this ages ago.
Matt texted me that day and was like telling me some. He's like pretty much he was saying like Julian's really good to practice with, and I was like, yeah, tell me about it. I've been trying to chase his ass for a decade. Like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Damn.
I was
Yeah, Julian needs to get more recognized up in America, it seems. Like his driving is freaking sick.
yeah,
Like he's like one of the only guys that I'm like, that guy has like the proper like consa aggressive type of driving in the States.
yeah. I mean, he's spent like a lot of time trying to do that. Like, I think he's really good at like picking out like all the small details of like how the cars move and like implementing those. I think
Oh yeah.
I'm not as good as like recognizing those small details. I'm just like cargo fast, cargo backwards,
Yeah, yeah. Because what engine's in your BMW right now?
It's a 1J.
Oh, that's a 1J then. What like steering mods, like what kit are you using on those?
So I had a kit that was really popular for a long time. I'm not going to shout them out. Everybody probably knows what it is, but I'm actually on the Heatmaker like hot side prototype kit. So Julian's making BMW knuckles because they're a really popular chassis in the US. Like,
Yeah. It's like pretty much like the next missile car over there, right?
yeah, well, the E36s are starting to get like harder to. Well, now they're still kind of, yeah, they're on
Pretty
the
common.
yeah, like an E46, like the next, like the rounder version is now like becoming
Yeah.
more like Peter missile one because there's just like a lot of those. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, they're starting to get nicer because I think they're getting like a little bit more expensive because for a while they were like $1,000,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Like
I just go like
E36 bodies, yeah.
yeah, so they made a lot more of those than they did S chassis. So I think the price is going to stay low for a while.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. In Hawaii, I drove an E36 like as a daily in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had an E36 like M3, and I was driving my 180, blew the engine on that, and then at the time, the girlfriend I was with at the time had a S13, so I was drifting that, and then blew her fucking SR, and then I was just left with the Beamer, and I was like, "Nah, this thing has to drift. It's like manual and shit." And then I started fucking around with it, and then when I first like took it out and like took a turn, I was like, "Dude, this feels like an S chassis, like pretty similar." So I was like pretty shocked with that. I was like, "Oh, that's pretty sick." So I started driving that for like the whole time the engine was down.
They drift pretty good. It's definitely different. It feels different.
Yeah, it does feel like, I mean, back then, like have knuckles or anything like that, but it
Yeah.
just felt like a little bit heavier S chassis. Like I just noticed it didn't stop as good when you spin out.
Yeah, they're definitely heavier. I think paired with the JZ, it's a good combo because it's like a little lighter than a JZX, but like with the JZ, it's like 50-50 weight distribution. And I think that
Oh yeah.
like it needs torque. Like it needs to have torque. Like you couldn't put like an SR in one and have it feel like an S chassis. Like that's just not.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What do you see like the trends for? I mean, like you're buying parts for people, you're buying cars. Like, what's is the supply in Japan kind of like getting harder and harder to find stuff? Like, I feel like everything's getting more popular. This is getting like way more popular internationally, so it's good for business. But like, what happens as like it gets harder to find things?
Like new parts are easy to come by here, easier than probably anywhere else. But it's the used stuff, like the stuff that's like more like rare. So like back then, like I could just like take a Type X kit off any car or like buy it off anywhere. But now it's like if someone wants like a Type X or a Navon like bumper or skirt, it's like a lot harder to find, and the price is like a lot higher than it was. So you know, so when people come to me and they want me to find like like the factory like the spec or like wings or like the bumper, it's just like, yeah, I can still find some of it, but it's like hella expensive. It's like to the point where it's like, how the hell does something that, like something like that turn with a price, tag like that? So, I mean, like body part wise, like a lot of people like that OEM look and slam the car and it looks real nice. I used to be that type of style as well, but they're just getting harder to come by and it's just really expensive.
Yeah.
Like from back then when I used to like, sell and export parts. Because back then I could buy like like a Type X lip, like because I remember when I was in Hawaii, in America you can find an OEM Type X stuff. A lot of the Type X, like, the option bumpers factory, they're probably like not even in Japan anymore, to be honest. A lot of it's probably overseas because everyone's just been like, exporting and shit. So what I have, oh, look who just rocked up. What's up? What up? And then what's hard to find, I noticed now, is gearboxes. That's probably like the one thing that everyone destroys on the drift car.
After
And
the Bihoku Day, I'm surprised how many gearboxes in Japan left.
yeah, because then I remember, who was it that blew? What was it? Jimmy Oaks? It was, right?
Killed two of
He
them.
blew one, and yeah, two, and then somebody else that was with them like blew another one, and I was just like, damn, like, because the SR boxes now, like even in Japan, are like almost $1,000, and it's like not even that reliable of a box. Like a lot of people are coming up to me now and wanting to do like the same gearbox that I have in my SSD, like the R33, like Nagao Techno, like close ratio gears. But just like I was trying to look for R33 box of it and I couldn't find any. like, dude, what the hell, man? Like, it's wild. So like everybody wants to do like the box, what's in the S15, but the fact is I can't even find like the R33 box as a case to do the gears. So yeah, just gearboxes, drivetrain stuff is kind of disappearing in Japan. They're either already broken or they're probably overseas. So it's kind of crappy here. It's getting, real scarce for some certain things.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wonder if it's ever going to make it like difficult for people in Japan to drift if we're all buying all the stuff that they need.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I don't feel any like guilt when I'm exporting container loads of like new crap, stuff that's like still being manufactured.
Yeah.
But like when it's like something that it's like, oh damn, it's like one thing that I need, I'm getting rid of. So it's like, like I mean, I don't, I still send them out, but I don't recommend like a lot of that stuff to people anymore because for one, it's expensive already, and two, it's probably already in the country you're already in, and just to send it as well it turns out to be more expensive when you can for sure find it in America or Australia or somewhere else because like even engines like someone back then when I was growing up in Hawaii a SR engine was probably like $2,500 or something like that, and then in at that era in Japan it was probably $500. So people kind of still stuck in that mindset where because the SR engine is probably like 5 grand in America, then it's probably still like 2 grand here. It's like it's practically the same like engine, not only SR but like RB or 1J. They
Yeah.
would come up to me like, "Oh, I want to like import these engines," and it's like, "Okay, well, I'm not gonna lie, these are the prices for what they're going at," and they realize that it's nothing different to if they were to buy it from where they are like
Crazy.
located.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got a spare bottom end that I'm just holding on to, like, cause I mean, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. That was the thing. Like back then, because they're so common, like SR engines and stuff, like nobody gave a crap to rebuild anything. They just threw it away.
Yeah,
Like
but
even me, I threw an SR when I blew it over here. Yeah, so since it was so easy to come by, like especially for people that are in Japan, they just like, oh, I blew like something so small, like oh, like my freaking ring glands or something, piston freaking rings. They blew up. They just throw the whole damn engine when because they could just find it so easy. And now everybody, I talk to so many Japanese people, and they so regret doing like those things back in the day. Like, dude, I used to just like junk these SR boxes back in the day, man. And it's like, yeah. So now that they realize that everyone broke it or it got exported, they're like, shit, what do we do now?
yeah, is anyone getting, like, clever with, like, different transmissions that maybe are from weird other cars? Like, 'cause, that we do that a lot in the US where we'll take, like, I don't know, some people run, like, BMW boxes or, like, like, fucking LS1 boxes on this or CDO9s, like
And Japan, there's not too many like because there's not really LS engines.
yeah.
Like there's some BMWs and stuff, but no one I think actually expanded their imagination to try and put a BMW
Well, they're probably
gearbox in
expensive.
like a Sylvia or
Yeah,
like anything like a JZX or something.
yeah.
Yeah, saw CD09. Like it used to be C32 and RV20, like the RV25 boxes. But now that everyone is, that's already so hard to find that everyone is just like buying 350Zs, or the boxes or buying the whole chassis and just like ripping the boxes out and parting out the rest. Because the 350Z is so cheap in Japan. It's not like an expensive car. Like you could buy them for like five grand US still here.
Wow. Yeah, that might be the move, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, because like our other friend Hayden, he's from Australia, and he's like, I think his S14 just landed in Japan from Australia, and he has like some crazy like BMW. I forgot what box it was. He was just talking
Oh,
about it the other day, but it's like 8 speed, like sequential thing.
I know
And I
what
was like, dude, you're gonna be the only one with that box in Japan. They're gonna trip out when they see it.
it's the DCT like boxes, but that's so it's like double clutched, like each
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like each selecting I don't know how to explain shit from transmissions. I'm not like a real mechanic. But like
yeah,
it's like a double clutch system and you can like teach them like you can get like a box, like you can get like an ECU standalone, but just for the transmission, and you can like
yeah. Just for yeah,
it's pretty
the
cool.
TCU or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So you can like
Yes.
program in like a clutch pedal, but like that clutch pedal is just like actuating like the clutches. It's not. It's like all mechanical, or it's not
Yeah,
mechanical.
it's like a switch. Yeah, it's like a switch or something like that. He was explaining. Like
Yeah,
he was like, "Oh, I could just put it in drive and drive it like it's automatic." It's like, dude, that's wild. Like when
kind of weird.
Japanese people see that car, they're gonna like trip out. And maybe it might be a thing in Japan, because Japanese people they're like I don't know how to say it nicely, but like kind of stubborn. Like they don't really change their ways in Japan. That's why like some things are left so like like old fashioned.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure if you realize that when you came here, but like a lot of things like don't change. That's kind of probably why a lot of people run SR shit still.
Yeah.
Because like they think it's good and they don't really like see like the other opportunities of what they can do. That's kind of why I just stuck in that like old way.
I think it's like
So I mean, they don't change it until
the-
they see other people doing it.
I feel like if somebody built a car that had a bunch of new stuff on it and was like able to drive it better than the people that are driving the cars with the old stuff, they'd be like, oh, there's something to that. But until then, they're just like, well, no one's driving better than the people with this stuff. Like, why would we run anything else?
Yeah, that's how they are. They're real stubborn in Japan. And
Like,
that's like the
oh,
one that wasn't was like Daigo. Like Daigo just builds like the most craziest shit in Japan. And then back then he was like just beating everyone. Like he's the only one that had like 1,000 horsepower and shit. And then that's when like that trend happened in Japan. Like, oh crap, put a 2GZ and everything. And then yeah. Like even like I mean, a lot of it comes down to money as well. Not so many people in Japan have that much money to play with a lot of the time. So like even Naoki back then, the reason why Naoki just stuck with SR and just improved his driving and got faster and kept up with Daigo. But until they see someone do it, they're probably not going to change. That's all it is over here.
interesting. Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely like lots of old school like mentality, but it works. I don't know. Like the driving's sick. So it's like, I don't blame them for being like, no, this is the way we do it.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen you drive on the
Yeah.
BMW. Like, you fucking suck. Like, why would I listen to you on how to build my car?
Yeah. Yeah. They don't change until like you tell them and then you prove it pretty much type of thing.
Yeah.
Like it takes a lot. Like even it's not only the car scene, it's just like Japan altogether. Like other than like the whole like high tech crazy crap you see in like the like the streets of Tokyo and stuff like that. Like behind all that, like everything is so old school. Like
Yeah.
even like the freaking justice system is hella old school. That's why they can't get anything done quick. Like anything here is like just retarded.
Fax machines.
So like yeah, that's one thing, dude. I run a business here and I can't stand that, dude. Like I'm like, dude, just send me an email. You can email the invoice and it's done. But it's like, oh, what's your fax number? I'll fax you the invoice. Is like, dude, you can just like send me it on an email. Like, it's like crazy. Like, I have no idea why they still use that thing, man. It just bugs me. Like running a business in Japan, that's the one thing that just nags at me all the time. It's like, dude, this fax crap needs to go.
Well, yeah, I guess let people know where they can find you, even though they probably know where to find you. And
Hopefully.
did we cover everything? I know it's obviously hard to fucking get everything out there in a podcast and stuff, but
Yeah. I mean, we got the main bits, I guess, in there.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, well, I didn't mention this, but we're the only ones that do left-hand drive rentals in Japan. So maybe next time when you come over, you can try to drive a left-hand drive too. For the other dudes in America and stuff.
Yeah. For all us fucking left-hand drive inch measuring horsepower guys,
Yeah. That's one thing though. Like it sucks trying to come here to showcase your driving, but you get handicapped because you have never drove right-hand drive. That's the thing. So I mean, that's kind of why me and my friends here kind of started the left-hand drive thing, because it's like so many people, like myself included, like wanted to come here and just kill it, and then it's like you get stuck with the right-hand drive shit first, and you're like, damn, okay, I gotta like relearn it first before you can actually show people how good you actually can drive.
My first time driving right-hand drive was at Mahon in 2016.
Wait, the Super D event?
No, it was before Super D. It was
Super D was 2017.
Yeah, it was just like a private day, and my friend Aaron Wong from Pandora Motorsport, formerly Wolf Rain, like let me
Oh yeah.
like drive a car that he rolled. Like, do you know the picture of Aaron and Drift Tengoku?
Oh yeah, that's right. He rolled like the 180 or something.
Yeah, I drove that car that
Yeah.
day after he rolled it.
Oh yeah, because they could still drive it after, and they just like jack the roof up or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Naoki took me for
Oh damn.
laps like after I drove it. And I was like, this is like one of the
Yeah.
hardest cars to drive I've ever driven. Like I was like so not confident. I like sucked back then. And I like that's where I like learned that I'm a bad driver. Like I was like, I'm not good at drifting. I came over there, I was like, I'm pretty good. Like, I'll win a comp in the US and blah blah. And like I went to Mahon and I was just like, yo, I suck. Like I fucking suck. Like and they told about people that like one of the animal style guys was there, and so like everybody came to watch, like on the wall, and like I did not put on a show. Like I like barely entered.
Yeah.
I was so scared, and like I drove. I'm driving right hand
Dude,
drive.
Mayhem does that to everybody here.
Yeah, yeah. I was very humbled,
Yeah.
that day. And then I rode with Naoki, and he like drove the car like perfect, and I was like, this car drives like shit. Like this is like one of the worst driving cars ever. Like I suck at drifting. Holy shit. So
Yeah, I think that happens to all of us. Yeah, like just like going to Mahon, and then like it's hard to like gauge how like hard that place is to drive in the beginning, like just off of videos. It's like,
yeah,
oh yeah, you just come onto the stream through an entry like a right hander. It's like, but then you get there and just walls everywhere, and the fucking street is like hella fucking narrow. And it's like, damn, to get a car like backwards, like in that little like the width. Just because like usually a lot of people use like a huge like feint, like a flick, and then just use the momentum to kind of like rotate the car backwards. But like Mahon, they're like on a straight where it's like there's no like huge flick where you can like full get the car set up and like rotate it backwards. It's like it's literally like this. It's like you have to like just shoot the car like like real quick.
yeah,
So that's what a lot of people aren't like used to doing, because like a lot of the tracks and even street spots and like places overseas are like wide as hell. Like you have so much freaking track to like just like throw a flick and get the car backwards, but no one ever is forced to like do it on like a 1 lane freaking road. And then it's like, oh, okay.
I think that's why the progression's so strong, is because everything's like I think narrowing the track is like key for progression, because it like
Yeah,
to like drive a very specific line, and that's like a big thing.
a lot of the
And that's why Grange was sick, because it was like really narrow and there was like only one way to do it. And then when they made it wider, like yeah, you can do kind of crazier shit, but it's like yeah,
there's more like room for like error now, right?
yeah. So I can see, like, I understand why it's so difficult to do like the perfect line there, because it's like you only have so much room to like set the car up perfectly and like put it in the right place. Like Keisuke was explaining to me like the perfect Mahon line, and I was like trying it in a Seto, and he was like, no, 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 like lap after lap. And I'm just like, oh, like I thought I could do it okay. And he's like, yeah, you're like not even close. Yeah. So it's like, it's really interesting to know it's like inches of like certain spots on the track to like do the right line at Mahon.
Yeah, like where you flick and stuff, like it does a lot. Like a lot of people don't know where to flick. Sometimes they flick too early because it looks like you're just gonna hit that back wall. So like when I kind of like help coach my friends that first driving, I'm always like, nah, like you have, if you're in like that like 300 horsepower stock car, like you have to flick like after that little like that pole.
Yeah.
It's like if you do it anywhere before that, you're just gonna hit like the hella inside line. So they're like, what? So like flick after that pole. Like, dude, yeah, if you're in a stock car, you gotta flick it there. It looks scary, but that's the only way to do it good. It's only one way to do it.
What was like one of the biggest like improvements you made, like from some advice that you got?
I mean, one thing is like you can't be scared to do it. Like what really changed my driving and helped me excel was when I stopped driving the car to the track, because it's like you hold so much back when you know you have, that's your way home. That's what like affected my driving, because like I go to Mahon, I think like the gayest line, like safe line, like I think I'm doing thick freaking driving, but it's like I'm not really. And it's like you're not trying to break the car. And then I finally, with that company I was working at, they finally got a truck. I was like, sick! I could use a truck to go to the track. And then that's when I started just writing cars out because I just stopped giving a shit. It's like, oh yeah, just put on the truck, take it home. You know, so that's like one thing. Like even like now, if I have to drive the car back, it's like you can't really go that hard because like especially it's not like the tracks are like super close to you. You know, it's
Yeah.
like at least over an hour, and it's like you crash the car, you have to ask someone to like tow it to wherever. It's like I think land transport's a lot more expensive in Japan because of the tolls. So like just making one mistake, like ripping your wheel off, it's like you have to pay like $1,000 just to get the car like from the circuit to wherever your yard or house is. So it's like
Uh,
a lot of people hold back because it's like if they don't have their own truck and they get stranded out there, it's pretty crap
yeah.
and it's like real costly. So that's what for me that was like a huge thing because I have to make sure I could actually drive the car home. So I couldn't really push, you know. And I was always afraid to push because of that. But then once the truck and like it just like opened my mind to not giving it a crap. And that's what like I crashed a hell of a lot. I broke a lot of cars, rode off some cars, but it like got me to like where I am today, like driver level wise. So I mean, just being afraid really like holds you back. Like when I'm in a car, I don't care about anything anymore. I just care about like doing something sick, you know, make it or don't make it, you know. To me, it just doesn't really matter. Just make it look sick and, you know, just don't be afraid to just like push and throw yourself, you know, into like that freaking wall or situation. Because like any amount of you holding yourself back is just gonna limit your skill level when driving a lot.
Yeah. That's real.
Yeah.
I think it's like
Yeah.
I think it's breaking up a bit. I definitely like heard all that. But I think we're starting to lose the internet, so I think we're gonna have to
Yeah, all good, all good. We'll
uh,
do another chat next time. We got like
yeah,
better internet and shit.
we'll do one in person next time. For sure.
Yeah, just let me know when you're back in Japan. But I should be in Cali hopefully this year. I was trying to shoot for this year, but depends. But I have like another S14.5, like a right hand drive car I'm building in Hawaii that I'm gonna send to Cali once it's done. So want to
Sick.
try to do some events out there. Maybe I get to drive with you guys.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, we'll do another one in person when you get out.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Well, man, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah,
Great
pretty
to talk.
sick. Appreciate it.
All right, bye everybody.
All right, see you, everybody. Let me know if you guys ever want to come to Japan and do some driving. Hope you guys out.